trolling Senator Elizabeth Warren as a snake, and in post after post, labeling Mayor Pete Buttigieg a rat. Two victims of this tell CNN they were so afraid of the online attacks they faced, they don't even want us to describe the circumstances for fear it would start up again. They both just questioned the politics of Bernie Sanders in a public setting, and their personal lives were exposed and attacked.
Well, just what Nick said, I think that's right. I mean, there is no Democratic establishment anymore. There's not even a Democratic Party anymore. The Democratic Party is a meaningless notion that the party, like the Republican Party, has been hollowed out and privatized to a large extent. There are Democratic elites, and so when we're talking about the Democratic establishment, we're really talking about a number of, a bunch of people that Nick also knows well, which really means Democratic donors.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
This election is the most important in the modern history of this country.
The election in 2020, without hyperbole, is going to be the most important election this country has undergone in over 100 years. Not a joke.
This November's elections are more important than any I can remember in my lifetime, and that includes when I was on the ballot.
There are just 8 days left in what is the most important election of our lifetime.
Where did you guys come to a conclusion about why Clinton had such a hard time just owning that she did something wrong with the email server?
You know, I know that Russia and other forces would love us to have a debate. This is exactly what they want. They want us to have a debate about the internal structure of Hillary's campaign, what's true, what's not true. And I'm just not going to play that. I'm sorry.
We came, we saw, we died.
I was the CIA director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It's like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment.
You know, people have said, if you look at, for example, the heat that ended up around the bend the knee of Colin Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. Many smart people have said it actually was not a thing. The Russian bots started taking out. Yes.
But I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should be running.
This is not about.
If you're like me, one of the millions suffering from pain caused by migraine, Nurtec ODT may help. It's the only medication that can treat a migraine when it strikes and prevent migraine attacks.
Trump and the Republicans lose on Tuesday, and if they lose badly, it's not going to be because of the left, whatever that means. It's not because of the 50 Antifa black mask guys who roam around the United States breaking windows and committing mayhem, most of whom are probably paid police informers.
Most of whom are probably paid police informers.
Rudy Giuliani, there's only three things he mentioned in a sentence, a noun and a verb and 9/11. I mean...
I'm going to try to get through this. Thank you for what you did 3 years ago today.
And I went to Wall Street in December of 2007, before the big crash that we had, and I basically said, cut it out.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
I can't do it.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
We are live, citizens of the internet. Welcome, Justin. How you doing, man?
Oh, good. How about yourself?
Really good. Yeah, you sound good. Everything's kosher, man. Perfect. It's funny when you said you're having trouble logging on. I was like, hey, he'll pop in right as we go live. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, it worked out this time.
Yeah.
Microsoft. So I try and get all my emails to go through, like, so I can just click on the one on the sidebar, and it for some reason it's not there. So I had to kind of backdoor it.
They're fucking with you.
They are those commie bastards.
I just got back from Santa Fe, New Mexico. My first time up there. It's an interesting place. Have you ever been there?
No, never. I don't think I've ever been to New Mexico, to tell you the truth. Been about
Pretty cool,
everywhere
man.
around it.
I think you would like it. There's a lot of truck people here.
Oh, really?
It's very
because I've been looking at like different ranches down that way. Just like Utah's getting too busy for me.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, if I could just find a ranch somewhere, for what I could get out of my place up here, just outright buy it down there and
there's
live off the grid.
Totally. There's a ton of people that do that. Santa Fe might be one of the better places to do that.
Oh, nice.
But it's like Albuquerque is much more populated, I guess. Like it's much more like a city, like
Right.
a proper city. Santa Fe, it's kind of like the difference too. The distance is kind of like the difference between Salt Lake and Provo.
Oh, gotcha. That's not bad.
Yeah, and Santa Fe being Provo and Albuquerque being Salt Lake, it's more than.
Right. Oh,
But yeah,
nice.
it's a cool trip. And New Mexico is like, I guess it's pretty Democrat like politically, but like demographically, it's very like country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even like
I mean, New Mexico itself's not really super populated as far as the whole state, right?
No, Albuquerque is only like 600K people.
Yeah,
and
it's like, seems like everything's really spread out too across. the
yeah,
state.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's either there or South Texas, one of the two.
Yeah, South
Middle
Texas.
of nowhere.
That's cool, man. Utah's gotten pretty fucking crowded.
Yeah,
in the last
it's
20
gotten
years.
bizarre here. I mean, it's
Why do you say that?
well,
Bizarre?
just the main corridor of I-15. That's where all the population is. So it's really, if you got to go north or south, you're just screwed. I mean, don't go after like 7 o'clock or 7 a.m. and you have to come back through about 7 p.m. just to
it's
somewhat
traffic.
flow with traffic. Yeah, it's getting bad.
Yeah, it was bad when I was up there a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, it's worse.
It's like LA levels, man.
Yeah, it's wild, but I guess that's growth. That's
Yeah,
what they keep looking at.
It's funny here in Albuquerque because I went back to LA to get my ID renewed recently, and I kind of had this epiphany that it's like, yeah, LA is really populated and crowded, but that's kind of what makes it cool,
Yeah.
is that, and it's like with Albuquerque, the downtown area, man, sometimes like the other night I was walking home from a concert at like 11 and it was just empty. Like the streets are just empty. There's like no one.
Everybody's
You know
like,
what I mean?
"No, peace out. We're home."
Yeah, like it's cool, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, we need like a few more people here. Like it
There's
needs
like
to,
no whatever the night lifestyle, I guess, that really
it's
goes
probably
on there.
it's more there's more action when it's warm, like
Yeah.
it's actually really nice today, but yeah, there is nightlife, but it's not like LA, it's not like what I'm used to.
24/7.
Yeah. So
Right on.
but
Well,
it's cool, man.
yeah, we've actually been getting kind of some spring-like weather up this way. It probably felt about 45 degrees outside today. Wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was nice today. Daisha and Ray went to Mexico.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, yo, it's like 67, 68 degrees up here today. And she's like, oh, it's only like 6 degrees warmer where we're at.
Huh.
So anyway.
Yeah. Crazy. So
Well, man, we haven't talked since the election.
I think it's before that, isn't it? It's been a while.
Since before the election. That's what I mean. Since before the election. We didn't talk.
Yeah,
at
I
the
just
election.
been watching the shit show that's the confirmation hearings.
Dude, it's so crazy. Someone said it so well earlier. They said like it's kind of exposed who owns the Democrats. Like,
Well, and just Republicans too. I mean, if you really
Yeah.
kind of watch some of those guys, even we got guys right here from Utah that are in the Senate now. I mean, not Mike Lee, but the other guy.
Yeah,
Won't
yeah.
mention his name. But yeah, he's been kind of wishy-washy, I guess. It's like there's really no sense in all the theatrics that's gone through with any of the nominations. I mean, it's typically like everybody just okay, whatever. It's the president's choices. So
Yeah.
just get this over with and get him in there.
Let's get man, and Tulsi Gabbard, it's so funny. I reshared this. There's this woman, Anna Matson, whose tweet went viral, but she said this about Bernie Sanders. She's like, Bernie's vote on Tulsi is going to tell you everything you need to know about his character, because Tulsi resigned from the DNC because they unfairly favored Clinton over him. You know what I mean? Like, she put her career on the line for that guy.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. It's like crazy if you're actually paying attention and you're not just partisan politics either side.
Yeah.
You see if you're willing to open your eyes, you really see what the teams are, and it's wild to see how much the political spectrum on both sides of the aisle has changed over the last
so much
15, 20 years. It's like, what happened to us?
Yeah, man, I was thinking about this today, how just watching those hearings made me think about how the Obama years kind of turned liberals into the hawks. And
Yeah.
like, I think some people didn't even notice it, because like a lot of my punk rock icon, like heroes, like the guy from Dead Kennedys, like Joe, is like anti-Trump, like to the core, like pro Biden, pro, vaccine mandates and all that kind of shit. And I'm just like, dude, like what happened to people where it's like, I understand that Trump isn't like the ideal person for a lot of people, but still, like considering the alternative, holy crap.
Well, and that's what's funny, like Elizabeth Warren and then Bernie Sanders. Did you watch any of that with RFK Jr.?
Some of it, yeah, I saw clips of it on Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, it was hilarious. They're both just trying to, will you promise? He's like, I don't even have anything to do with that group anymore. Why do I need to pledge not to be with them and get money from them or work for them? It's like,
the onesies.
You're the one that's in the onesies. It's like, you guys are the ones getting all the money from these people. So it's like, what do you want me to tell you? Don't do the stuff you guys are doing?
Yeah. Mr. Kennedy, do you support these onesies?
Anti-vax onesies.
Yeah, it's
that was
terrible.
just so bizarre.
Well, and what's really crazy that a lot of people forget too is these are both Democrats. These are fucking Democrats. RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard were Democrats.
Yeah, it's wild to watch this stuff. It's like, I don't know what is going on. I mean, it's the only thing you can really associate it with anymore is the Trump derangement syndrome, because it's so weird that it's just popped up since like 2015.
Well, it's media, man. It really is the media.
They're just as bad, which I thought was hilarious that they're actually kicking out a lot of like the NBCs and all those people out of the White House press conference. Great. And bringing in more, I don't know if you could call them conservative, but at least people that seem to be wanting to tell the truth.
Oh, they're great. Did you see the first press conference? Trump is doing things like, I told my cousin this the other day. I told we were talking about this the other day, because I'm like, Trump is doing things I didn't even know I wanted him to do. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that's cool that he's doing that. Like all the stuff with Panama and Canada, people are being like hyperventilating about it. Like, oh, like people are like, oh, he's threatened to go to war with Canada and Denmark and Panama. No, he didn't.
What's so funny about that is I think he just says that stuff to troll people, because he knows the crazies lose their shit every time, never fails.
But also, that's how you fucking negotiate. That's what I was trying to explain to people with defund the police. I'm like, the whole point of defund the police isn't to actually defund the police. It's to start the argument from such an extreme place you actually get something when the negotiations are finished. You know what I mean?
I think right now, though, we're so polarized in two different camps. It's either you're on the defund the police side or you're on the other side that's like, no, look, we should fund them more, get them this training they need, because realistically, I don't really know how much training police officers get after they get into the force. You do your all your required stuff up to the point where you get the badge. Then after that, I think you're kind of on your own. Once a year, you go and certify on your weapon or whatever. But it's like they
So
should
what?
be actually just. I mean, Joe Rogan has said it the best over the years. He's like, they should get more funding. They should be looking for the best guys and women to put on the force. And then, they should all know jujitsu or something
Be
non-lethal
healthy. Yeah.
versus pulling the
Having
gun
to
as their
kill
first
people.
defense,
Right.
because that's the
Yeah.
only thing they got.
Well, what do you think about this too? Because I think like I'm not disagreeing with you, but what do you think about taking some stuff off their plate? Like we should fund like mental health programs because a lot of the homeless people, man, I'm dealing with homeless people
Oh,
all
for
the time.
sure. For sure.
Like
We
they're
should be
they're
funding stuff like that too.
yeah.
Because how much of that stuff do they got to go on? They're the first people, you got crazy on the
Right.
street.
Exactly.
Who are they going to
Exactly.
call?
Because
They call the police. And if they don't know what,
totally. Because
the
I see
person
it
gets
here
violent, they probably should have a combination of both. A
in
healthcare
Albuquerque.
worker and a police officer.
Yeah, yeah. And if you allocate those resources to helping homeless people who are mentally ill, who are they're not going to get a job. Like these people are mentally ill. Like they're pissing themselves. And you're like, but if you take those people off the streets, because I see it here all the time. I see cops. I drive around a lot, so I see cops like busting up homeless encampments, and I'm not against that either because they're like starting fires and shit.
Yeah.
But also, like they shouldn't have to do that. Like we should we should take care of those people, So I think that would free them up to focus on real crime,
Well,
more real crime.
I think that's kind of what Trump's aiming at in the long run, I think, because right now he's trying to clean up the problems that have just been let go by numerous presidents down, for since Clinton.
Dude,
probably.
I'm glad that you wanted to talk to that because the immigration thing to me is so funny because it's one of those things where, I was one of those people who bought some of the propaganda about being racist and stuff. But it's like when you really think about it, what other country just willy-nilly like allows people to just fucking come in at random and fucking set up shop? Like what country does? Like the UK?
The UK. Yeah, they're them and France after they had that massive wave of asylum seekers, they tried to call them, but they're essentially all the Muslim countries, and most of them, I mean, I'd been watching it for a while, people like out there recording it and posting it, and it's lines, I mean, miles as far as you could see, lines of younger men and boys, not women and children like they tried to claim. It's like these are all fighting age men and women. And I mean, I don't know. I could go into kind of a deep rabbit hole with that one because everybody's like, look, this is kind of the Muslim caliphate type thing. And they've worked this way for thousands of years, It's just they infiltrate into there. And then when they decide that they want to do something, they've already got the numbers there. They've got a standing army waiting to be called up. And I don't know that that's really the plan.
Yeah, my spidey senses on that kind of stuff think like pro-war propaganda. Like what, but also like what I would ask you this, where do you think, like, I would want to know what countries these people are coming from, because a lot of times we're the ones causing the refugee problem. You know what I mean? Like we're doing something in their country.
We've done that for a while.
Totally.
The CIA's maybe not as much now, but depending on how much of the deep state Trump can actually get rid of.
Yeah.
Is going to be the telltale sign on how much prosperity America has for the next 50 years, really.
I couldn't agree more. Dude, I was listening to this morning on my way down from Santa Fe. I was listening to Tucker Carlson, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy, have you seen the thing where he's talking to the guy about the JFK files being released? Dude,
it wasn't Kash Patel, was it?
No, it wasn't Kash Patel. I know Kash Patel. Okay. He's like an author. He's like a writer, but he's like a mainstream guy who writes a lot about JFK. But anyway, the thing that's crazy about it is like when you listen to that, like, dude, how long has it been since the voters actually had a say in how our country is run? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, dude, I mean, well, just like it was kind of brought out, I think, the first time Trump announced for presidency.
Yeah.
Because, you started having a lot of these high profile people, they can't help themselves when something's not going their way. They can't help themselves but out themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's basically like, what, you think because you're president, you'll be running things? It's like, I've been here through 5 presidents already, or whatever, like 3 presidents.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are the most dangerous, really.
1,000%, man. The fucking permanent Washington.
Well, and what still blows me away I don't know what investment the news media has in still going with the narrative of Russia's the bad guy that we keep, we use them as the scapegoat to dump billions of dollars into Ukraine. But
Dude.
it's like at the same time, it's like, how much of a war is really going on there? Because you see clips from people there too, they're all out partying at night and stuff. They're like, they don't seem like there's a war going on, they're still living their lives. And then you start finding out that, oh, we just sent them another $10 billion to fund the retirement accounts.
Where does all this go? Dude, Ukraine and Israel have national health care that we fund.
Oh yeah, everything in those countries. So I was glad to see that we're starting to pull back on this foreign aid stuff, because I think it's just gone unchecked for so long.
1,000%.
And it's like, I feel it's the same way as don't feed the bears, because then they're dependent on your handouts, and then they don't survive on their own. Humans aren't much different. If we just get dependent on stuff, then once it's gone, we don't know how to survive without it.
Dude, the Canada thing is so funny. Like that, going back to like things Trump is doing that I never thought about. Like I didn't know, like all this stuff about us subsidizing Canada. That's fucking crazy. But we subsidize so many countries through our fucking foreign policy. And so it's like one of my friends who is she's an immigrant, but she has like dual citizenship because she kind of grew up in Orange County and stuff.
Okay.
But she keeps sending me all this stuff about like she's like Canada's doing like retaliatory tariffs, and I'm like, what the fuck does Canada have that we don't already have here? Like maple syrup or something? Like what the fuck? Like we can get that in Maine. Like I don't.
That's the thing. I mean, I know.
And no offense to Canada, but
no. So before I forget, I was watching this thing the Babylon Bee put out, and they're talking about Trump gonna declare Canada as the 51st state, but he's like, we're gonna have to just call it gay North Dakota.
Yeah, I saw that. That's great.
I was like dying. But it's just stuff like that it just makes it hilarious, because everybody will look at that Babylon Bee thing, which has been satire forever, that don't understand satire, and be like, look, he wants to take it over, and then he wants to call it a gay North Dakota, and just make something stupid out of it that's not even there.
It's funny how that has flipped too, because good satire is speaking truth to power. You know what I mean? And it used to be in the Bush era, conservative comedy wasn't funny because it wasn't speaking truth to power. It was like sucking dick to power. And now that dynamic has flipped. Now it's like you got like Stephen Colbert, the guy who was the funniest man alive, I thought, during the Bush years, like sucking dick to power. Like that's all he does.
Well, and I think from my perspective, it looks to me like now that we have the technology to find out stuff for ourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if they understand that. Like people like Bernie Sanders and stuff, I don't think they understand what the internet is, because I can fact check everything you claim to be against, but then your voting record shows something different. I mean, a couple clicks of the button, I can find out how you voted. Yep. So you're outing yourself. It's like they out themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the thing too, that it's like a lot of people don't understand about Trump is that people just like, you're the one who pointed this out to me when I asked you, I was like, why you like Trump? And you're like, he's not a Bush or a Clinton. People just want something fucking different. Like not that like the status quo clearly isn't working,
Well, and I think it has to get so bad, I think, before more people start looking into it,
Yeah.
If everything's going okay, you're just like, screw it, I don't need to worry about this thing or that thing, and not really any of my concern. I mean, like I say, I hated politics. I never wanted anything to do with them. I never followed politics until I think it was about 2001, I think, after 9/11, I kind of even started really watching the news and just kind of trying to figure out what was going on with all that crap, and that's kind of like when everybody came together for the greater good, I guess you could say.
Right.
But in the end, you start looking at the report when it finally came out, and there's like 40 pages redacted. And then you've got, the weirdest thing was Building 7 too. And I think that, I don't remember what year the documentary came out on the Twin Towers, that it was like supposed to be basically bulletproof, it could take a 707 or whatever, a pretty big plane, and never.
Do you remember, not to interrupt, but did you remember that BYU professor who got in trouble for saying that that was a controlled demolition. He's like, dude, there's no way planes did that. There's like a BYU physics professor
and a complete building off to the side of it. I don't think they were doctored videos, but it looks just like you see little blasts go out through it. And even different engineers have been like, that looks like a controlled blast. It fell right into its own footprint. It's like, that just doesn't happen. You would have a damage on the one side of the building if it was caused by one of the Twin Towers coming down.
Right. What's so crazy about that too is like not even like probably 6 months before 9/11, I had been watching this documentary on National Geographic about controlled demolitions, like about dudes who fucking go into like city grids and they're like, we need to get rid of this building, so we have to rig it to explode so it collapses on itself, and doesn't hurt like the neighboring buildings, you know?
Yep, exactly. And I mean, if you see some of the videos from like the one angle that it shows the towers are gone, and then like almost right after that, building 7 goes down, like just perfect. And it looks like you see little charges because you got to have so much of it collapse in a certain area to pull the rest of it in.
Oh yeah.
It's just, I would like to see them other 40 pages personally.
Dude, honestly, that's
just them 40 pages, because that would probably open up a lot.
They were
and
like,
that was President Bush that had those blacked out.
Of course, and Cheney. Cheney,
the Saudis, we know the Saudis had something to do with this, but everybody just kind of, that's conspiracy theory. But
well, dude,
let's add it to the list of conspiracy theories that have been coming true lately.
That stuff that came out recently about those guys working with the CIA. Those Saudis were working with the CIA. Like the CIA gave them fucking care packages and shit when they got here and directed them to the flight schools. And there's all kind. I mean, I might be misquoting exactly what they did, but like Max Blumenthal covered it on the Gray Zone.
But regardless, our CIA and our intelligence community seems to be more concerned about what we're doing versus, I mean, it's hard to say. It's like I was just watching the documentary on the Boston Marathon bombers.
Fuck, man.
Russia had already told these guys, and the FBI guy that was on there admitted that they had gone and interviewed.
They gave him a tip because those guys had gone to like, what was it, Chechnya or some shit like that, were known for terrorism.
Yeah, wherever they went and came back, and it's like, but you had the lead guy from the FBI actually admitted that he had went and interviewed those guys off of that tip, and then said, well, there's nothing here we can look into further, and just let it go at that.
You know what the subtext of that bombing too is? You know what they did the day that bombing happened? They quietly repealed that insider trading ban that Obama passed. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you, man. So that
don't surprise me. Use it as a distraction.
There's my conspiracy theory. They knew about it and let it happen so they could go have like an event, a media event that they could go, okay, let's quietly get rid of, because they totally did that. I don't know if they did it exactly on that day, but it was like amid the hubbub about that bombing, when amid the press cycle around that, the Congress quietly repealed the Obama era insider trading ban.
Well, and that's why they don't understand why more and more the general public doesn't trust them. They've got like the lowest overall approval rating ever in the history of America. But
I have to
why
say,
do people not like us? You're gonna make us cry. I'm like, you guys kind of did that to yourself. Maybe look in the mirror.
Totally. The results of this election really made me breathe a sigh of relief. Like I really, because honestly, man, this is the other thing. Like, and you'll totally get this. Like I feel like we're being taught that we're all stupid or racist, or you know what I mean? It's like there's just this message that like, oh, Americans are just dumb, fat, stupid racists. We're all fucking idiots. Yeah. And when Trump won that election, I went, fuck, dude, thank you, America. Like, you're not as dumb as I thought, dude. You see through this bullshit,
Well, I know there's still like, you still see the media pundits. I mean, The View, if you just want a quick little laugh, I guess, at how pathetic those ladies are. But it's like, the media cannot understand what happened. And then he's a convicted felon. It's like, look, I was watching all that stuff, and it's like, I'm of the faction of, if somebody did something wrong, if he really did these things, then yeah, he should pay the price. But not pay a price that nobody else has ever paid for it. Dude, is a little extreme.
Oh man,
trying to make an example out of him. It's like, okay, the felony charge should have never been a felony charge. And how many different lawyers and yada yada said, look, this should be nothing more than a misdemeanor. And regardless, he paid what's her name the money before he even announced that he was running for president. That's a private deal. That's
Stormy
not
Daniels, right?
Yeah. So it's
What's
like that
ironic-
wasn't even part of him being.
It wasn't even part of the campaign. Dude,
Yeah.
a lot of the indictments around Russiagate, like for Paul Manafort, for example, predated the 2016 election. That's how, like with the Russiagate shit, that's what really fucking changed me. Because I was like once Trump got elected and won, and they started going, oh, he's a secret Russian. Oh, he might be compromised by Russia. I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that the guy that was just elected president is secretly being controlled by Russia, but they just can't find the smoking gun to like get him out? Like, because if that was a real fucking legitimate, like if there were any truth or any shred of evidence behind that whatsoever,
easily have been able to push
he would
that
be
out.
out. Yeah,
he'd be
in
gone.
a second.
Because Republicans and conservatives would have said, no, he's okay. Yeah, that's pretty bad. We can't have this guy in there.
There was no
But there
evidence.
was nothing. It was all just a bunch of hearsay. Let's throw a bunch of mud and hope something sticks.
And the reason I brought that up is, ironically, that whole case was built on Hillary Clinton doing the exact same fucking thing that they prosecuted Trump for fucking misappropriating campaign funds. They spent the money through like Fusion GPS or whatever, who spent it with a lawyer who went and got the Steele dossier written, which was like the entire basis for the Russiagate shit. So like,
Well,
that's
not,
the shit.
not
that's
even
fucking really
that.
crazy.
What about the Clinton Foundation? Whatever happened to all that?
I mean,
how
dude,
that just kind of disappeared out of the media. The FBI just quit investigating it. And I think somebody, I can't remember, it seemed like there was 2 or 3% of all the donated money that went to the Clinton campaign actually went to any charity. The Clintons lived really well during that time when they were doing $500,000 speeches in foreign countries and at colleges and stuff.
That's the new grift.
How the hell does that happen? Oh, probably the same way all this insider trading with Congress happens, huh? We're just participating in the natural things of society here. It's like, you are the ones that make the laws, and then you sell all this stock or you buy all this stock like a month or two before you guys pass a bill, and all of a sudden your portfolio goes up 40%. That's just, you're damn good in the stock market.
It's embezzlement, kind of like of taxpayer funds. Like when you're talking about the Clinton Foundation, you look at like Ukraine, right? What's his name? Sean Penn. The reason Sean Penn was such a fucking advocate for the Ukraine war is because he has an NGO that's doing services
money from it, huh?
for Ukraine. The Ukrainians are like fucking trying to help refugees or some shit. So they're getting money from that billion, whatever 50 billion package that Congress approves. Some of that money goes to these fucking, and that's why they get all these cunts to support all this stuff constantly, where it's like you have all these dummies in like Congress and the permanent state supporting a war in Ukraine because they're all getting a piece of it,
Yeah. Well, it's like they try and sell it like, well, if we send them all this money, it'll be coming back to our military contracting company. It's like, you just outed yourself again on what's really going on here. You're laundering money through these weapons contractors that are paying for our campaigns and everything else. It's like, do you guys not understand what you're doing?
I think they do. It's just
I think they're just arrogant to a point, like they just don't think they're untouchable is what they
the arrogance of impunity. As my good friend Russell Dobular called it, the arrogance of impunity. Just because they've never been held accountable, they can be so flagrant about it.
Yep, it's true. But so I did read something about there's a petition going around to recall Gavin Newsom over his handling
after those fires, man. You can tell he's panicking. Like he hurried and did like a episode of Pod Save America.
Oh yeah.
Brunch Liberal Central fucking
oh boy, he's got to get in with his own people. He doesn't want to actually be asked real questions.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day because there's a lot of my friends who are like dyed in the wool Democrats and my family members. I realized the other day their brains are still trapped in 2015. Like they still live in 2015 before like Bernie was stomped twice by the Democratic Party. And like the Trump kind of did, and Trump this election cycle too, I got to give him a ton of credit for what he did. He built coalitions. He went to the libertarians and said, hey, what do you guys want? I'll fucking do that. He went to the Muslims in Michigan. Oh, I'll fucking get a ceasefire. Done. Like, you know what I mean? And you can debate what, Israel's definitely not over. There's still plenty more to go that's going on with all that shit. But
yeah, that's a complicated situation there. I mean, which has been going
well,
on thousands
and honestly,
of years.
No one's good on it. Like, that's my argument.
Well,
Is it's like, look, I don't think that Trump and RFK's positions on Israel are good, but also the Democrats aren't any better. So like, that's one issue where I'm not going to hedge my bets.
And so the biggest thing that goes on with Israel is because they are America's allies. They're basically the only ally that America has in that region.
Are they really though? Because the thing is, you know about the USS Liberty, right?
The what?
The Liberty, the USS Liberty.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing that I think is interesting, and I actually want to ask you about this. Like right now, what's happening is they're like deporting people and they're like censoring people who criticize Israel, like on behalf of the Israel government. Like, and it's weird to me. Like this is where like there are a lot of conservatives that are against that, and they're like, no, that's not cool. Fucking like this is America. Foreign interests don't control our speech. But I feel like there are also a lot of conservatives like, no, it's okay. It's because it's Israel. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Well, like I say, it's one of those complicated, because I've seen both sides of it. I get it. But we've tried to intervene. I don't know how many different times, to do this. What about the 2-state solution? It's like, well, you start offering that and this side say, okay, we're good. And the other side's, no, that's too much. And then you're right back to the line. There's never a consensus with both sides, and
right.
I don't think there ever
obliterated.
Will be.
Gaza's like already fucking obliterated. There's
which sucks in that whole Middle Eastern area is the ideological Muslims. That's what's fucked the whole Middle East because of their hatred towards the West, and in some
here's the
instances,
thing, though.
I see why.
Yeah,
because of the shit we've done over there.
But here's the thing, though. I don't think I feel like that's a propaganda thing too, where it's like I'm not saying there aren't like Muslims that hate America. Like you would hate America too if a fucking bomb that said USA on it dropped on your son.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately the thing with bombs. When you drop in bombs, there's going to be collateral damage.
Right.
So if you're blanket bombing these supposed terrorists, you're not going to gain the hearts and minds of the local people when you're killing the people that have nothing to do with it.
Totally.
You essentially create more people that hate you.
It's the thing too, to me, is it's like that kind of warfare just feels so outdated and like primitive now. You know what I mean? It's like, dude,
it is.
We like when you're talking about hearts and minds, it's like if we really wanted to like take over Gaza or like we could do it like by just going in there and like giving them money and like building them homes and stuff and building a system that's worth living in, you know what I mean? And not treating them like third world prisoners under because like, I don't know if you've seen video of what Gaza was before Israel fucking destroyed it, but it was basically like a police camp where there was checkpoints and people with Uzis that would fucking shoot at civilians at random and shit. Like it was a very authoritarian controlled environment.
That's the Hamas government, which they claim they were elected as the government, but everybody knows what happens when somebody comes in like that. They take over as the government, and they're the ones that count the votes. So it ain't really the people that are voting. Nobody really voted for Hamas. They didn't have a choice. So they come in, they start building their infrastructure, the tunnels and everything else under there that the terrorist organizations have done everywhere in the Middle East. Osama bin Laden did it. He hid out in caves for years,
Well, that's how they keep their fucking homes amid people bombing them.
They use the general public because it's a propaganda tool for them. So what do they do? Here's what happens though. Those individuals can strike Israel. They know Israel is going to strike back, and then they use that footage to create more propaganda. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
Here's my only problem with, I think, the way that some people see this is like it's not two armies fighting against each other. It's literally
ideologies.
But it's also like an armed to the teeth fucking like militarized force versus like a bunch of fucking people with nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
well, and that's what I mean. It's not those people, because I've seen many interviews of people that come from Palestine and go back and forth every day. They're just like a regular citizen of Israel. But it's not them that's controlling the government in the Gaza and the Palestinian areas. It's the people that want death to Israel and all that. The crap that causes the most confusion and problems over them in that region. It's not the general population.
I don't disagree with you at all. I just think that there's this very Americanized view of the situation as like Israel's always the good guys and the fucking terrorists just want to kill Jews. And it's like, no, that's not really how it is.
It's kind of the same as saying America's always good.
Or yeah, like they hate us for our freedom. They hate us for our freedom.
Well, I think Orrin Hatch used to be the best at it. You know, if he was caught saying one time, it was like, if you really want to get people riled up, just tell them there's a flag burning or something going on downtown or whatever, and it gets people riled up, and they'll vote for whatever you put out on the table.
Yeah,
That's what goes on in our politics. Is you got these people that know how to get people riled up, and if you don't understand what you're looking at, you're going to get riled up and you're going to get pissed, and you're going to vote with whatever they throw on the table.
And both sides use it. Yeah. Now you have the Democrats trying to like make a big deal out of how expensive eggs are, as if they just figured it out. Like they're like, look how expensive eggs are under Trump. It's like, bro, eggs have been this expensive for a long time because
for
of
like the last 3 years.
Yeah. You just woke up and figured out how
days. Yeah, Trump's just gonna executive order that eggs can only be $1.99 again.
These people just they just came down off their mimosa buzz.
Yeah,
and like didn't and because they're
chuckle out of them though.
Because their housekeeper is hiding from ICE, they had to go to the store by themselves.
Oh, so that's what blows me away too.
That was a joke, by the way. Like I'm not for like people going after housekeepers, but let's talk a little bit more about that because there is like
so
a lot
that's
of that.
You know, supposedly because I supported Trump and everything, I'm a white supremacist and all the, you know, America's inherently racist. You know, we keep hearing even the Democrat Black Caucus and all that stuff. They're saying the same crap again, and they're doing the flag burning stuff to their constituents.
I want to play this clip of Trump because this is a clip that like I specifically saved this clip. I got to find it now, but I mean, keep talking. Sorry, but I want to play this clip of Trump in the inauguration speech where he talks about the Black community. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Yeah, but but so even like who was that lady at the church that was talking?
The bishop.
Yeah. Whatever she was, and talking about. I find it ironic, I guess, when people like her are saying, who is going to clean our toilets and shine our shoes and clean our homes? And it's like, that sounds like the most racist shit I've ever heard. It's like, that's the only people we have in this country is just, you know, you're basically calling them out for in racist terms and just stuff that they are trying to make a living. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
Yeah, I want to pull it up. So this clip, I want to set this up for you. So this is from the inauguration. Whoops, hold on a second. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I hit the wrong button. This is from the inauguration. And basically, I specifically saved this clip because I'm like, no one in the fucking media is talking about this at all. But listen, pretty short.
To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor, we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true.
Yeah, so I do remember that because I watched that because I was like, the faces of all these Democrats when he's just basically tearing into them saying, look, your policies suck, you guys suck. And I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah. It's refreshing because so many people, I think it's what people like the most about Trump is like politics had always been this thing where, you have to pretend, you have to pay fealty to the lie. You have to right?
Well,
Like
and that's what I think Joe Rogan has finally come to a realization of. For as long as I've been watching him, he was pretty super liberal, and he lived
Yeah.
in California, and when I get it, when you're around those people that everybody is, patting you on the back saying, yeah, you're with us and you're saying all the right things, you don't really see the other side of what's really going on. And he's luckily been bringing in people that can articulate even way better than I can, on what's going on in certain things. And then once it makes sense, you're like, I think you've seen him not necessarily, I'd say red pilled, because like I say, he even says, he's like, look, I'm still really socialist on a lot of things, or liberal, whatever he says. But it's like, I even get it. I get it. Why? Our problem is where we allocate money to not here for Americans. It's all around the world to countries that hate us. It's like, why are we? I mean, I don't know if you know who Sean Ryan is.
Yeah.
You seen his podcast? So,
I watch his stuff sometimes.
Yeah. So he's had a couple different people on there that have basically confirmed that we're sending the Taliban like tens of millions of dollars a day.
Totally.
Like, okay. So why would
Al-Qaeda
you do
too?
that? Why would you
Al-Qaeda
do
too in Syria? Yeah, totally. Dude, here's the thing that I think is awesome about the last couple of years, because like the right and left kind of realized that like the common thread between like Bernie Sanders and like the Trump movement is populism. Like America first. Like fucking what the hell are we doing? Like we should be spending our money on our shit,
Well, and I don't know. I've heard some different things too on getting rid of the national debt by getting away from the Fed essentially and creating a constitutional money, which I don't know how that would actually work. But
so while I'm thinking about this, let me run this by you, because I think this is actually a really cool thing. So Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon had this conversation where they were talking about how they're like the Luigi Mangione thing, and they're like, basically Joe Rogan and Tim Dillon are they're kind of like libertarian, right leaning, I think a little bit more than maybe, but they said we obviously need to provide these basic services to people. We need a society that provides these basic services like healthcare. They're like, but in order for us to do that, in order for us to provide those services to the citizenry, we're going to have to lock our borders down and get fucking people that aren't here legally out of the mix, because we don't have enough resources to just give that to everybody. And I'm like, wow, that's a very sensible argument for immigration policy that speaks to liberal progressive mindsets. You know what I mean?
Well, and it sucks for these people, especially the ones that have been here 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I heard the best argument against that. And it's like, if you've been here that long, then you've had plenty of time to do it the right way and be in the system like everybody else and get your citizenship.
Well, but also too, I think like Trump and Holman are like pretty sensible in that regard. Where they're like, if there's people that have been working here, obeying the law for like 30 years, doing like being good citizens, then we'll fucking work with them. They might have to pay a fine or something, but we'll work with them to keep them here. You know what I mean?
Right. And there should be something like that, but like they've said for the last 20, 30 years now, that it's a broken system. It's like, well,
do something about it.
You guys are all still sitting there in Congress. Why in the hell haven't you done anything other than when elections come around? Oh, the immigration system's broken, but we're going to sit on our hands and not do a damn thing again.
Democrats do. They do the same thing with abortion. They're like, oh, abortion rights are it's so important to vote for abortion rights. And then the Republicans appeal Roe v. Wade. And they're like, oh shit, like, well, now they can't run on that anymore. And honestly, abortion's still legal for most people that need abortion too. That's the other thing.
And just like everybody's looked at it, scholars and everybody's looked at this and said, look, this should have never been the law it was to begin with.
Yeah.
It should have always been a state's right, like a lot of other things should be, because you actually get more of the feelings of those individual areas, not just blanket get rid of abortion. Would everybody love to have that? No.
Well, so here's the thing though that's crazy, and you may or may not know this, but I've covered this on my show a few times. Abortion is legal nationwide in every state by mail through pills, And a bunch of the states tried to stop it. Like a bunch of like conservative states were like, no, you can't send those pills to my state. Like, we don't believe in abortion. And the Supreme Court, even the conservative justices were like, nope. Like, if you're a doctor that doesn't want to prescribe these, you have a constitutional right not to based on your religion. Right. But like, you know why it won too is because there's a pharmaceutical lobby that behind selling the pills. And fucking, so the Supreme Court's like, oh yeah, this company has a right to sell their product in every state by the Constitution, whether you like it morally or not. So so that debate is over. Like, it's done. Like, it's
well,
like,
and that's a whole other thing with the pharmaceutical companies too, that we should still be having a large conversation about.
Totally. Dude, that's why RFK is getting all these weird like attacks for 1,000% because of those companies.
Oh yeah, follow the money. That's all you have to do with any of these politicians. Follow the money, and you'll see who's for what.
Yeah, those hearings, man. Elizabeth Warren. This is what's so funny. I was laughing about censorship because on Instagram, I'm not on Instagram or Facebook a lot because they're fucking terrible. They censor. As bad as Elon Musk is, you know, when he did the Nazi salute or whatever, it was like. There were 1 million goddamn people on his platform calling him a Nazi, and he was not censoring all of them. Like, maybe he did censor a few. I don't know. I'm not making it.
Well, the
he
so
didn't censor anyone,
stupid thing about that is if you watch maybe a minute before that and a minute afterwards and get the context of it, it had nothing to do with the Nazi salute. But everybody's like, he's a Nazi. And then if you've seen the other one, everybody else had done it. All these Democrats are doing the same thing with their hand out like that. It's like, you guys are cherry picking one stupid little 5-second clip of him doing that.
Here's my take on that is because it was very like crisp. Like, he did that fucking shit. Like, he slapped his chest and did like a fucking salute. So I think he did it. I think he did it intentionally though, but I don't think he's a Nazi. I think he did it because he knew people were gonna fucking lose their minds about it. That's what I think.
It could be. I mean, he's a master troll too. I've watched some of his comments on X, and it's like, that guy's funny.
I also the other thing was like the context. You look at the context of this, and this is of course my little conspiracy theory, like my own little for entertainment purpose. But I was like, it seems like he might have been mad at Trump because Trump like gave a bunch of money to the AI guys, to Sam Altman and what's his name, Larry Ellison from Oracle. And so it was like that's when Elon did this like Nazi salute, and it was almost like, oh, now everyone's gonna be like, Trump's a Nazi. See, I told you, Elon's a fucking Nazi.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
It was like Elon was like, oh, fuck you. Oh, you're not gonna give me the AI money? Well, fuck you. Then I'll do a Nazi salute at your fucking thing. And get you.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, watching it though, I think he just got excited.
Yeah,
from my view.
Yeah, I think he did it with the full. I mean, and again, we can speculate all we want. We don't know what.
I don't know what he's thinking, but
regardless of what he was thinking, though, my point was this: if you're really mad about like Nazis and shit, like the Biden administration was arming actual Nazis in the Ukraine with fucking U.S. weapons that actually killed people, and you're mad about a fucking salute that this guy did. It hurt no one. It hurt absolutely no person. Even if he did do it intentionally, it hurt no people. It
just goes back to those people are insulated from any of their stuff, you know?
Totally. It's fucking like, ridiculous. And good on Elon too. If he did do it as a troll, it worked. Because I tweeted when he did it, I'm like, dude, now I go wait for the 8-person Piers Morgan panel about Elon's Nazi salute. And sure as shit, like a couple days later, Piers Morgan's out there like, what was it really a salute?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting 4 years, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. It's funny because it's like all the conventional wisdom is maybe some of the shit Trump's doing isn't going to be good, but all the people that are like so against all of it, like the tariffs are going to ruin everything. It's like, dude, sit the fuck down. Like, you have been the one that has been saying all this shit for years, and none of the shit. Like, I've been voting for Democrats as long as I can vote. Not a fucking thing that they ran on has happened. So they can sit the fuck down.
I think I did see something about some Canadian food manufacturers or something might actually try and move here. They're talking about it already because of the tariffs. They're like, it's too expensive to send it across.
And this is the other thing people don't get. They're like, yeah, the tariffs will make shit more expensive that's imported, but they're still American-made goods.
But how much American-made goods are made somewhere else? That
totally
it's too expensive to send it to those countries to bring back here. they'll come back here.
See, and that's what
we're the world's largest consumer of
Yeah.
foreign goods, and most of that has been our government's problem with the taxes and everything
Dude,
else
you're so right.
that have drawn them to these other countries where they
Yep.
can use slave
Well,
labor and
right.
save all
Yeah.
that money.
Yep.
Because if you're not paying anything to bring it back to America, it's dumb as far as a business aspect, just pure numbers, to not go somewhere else, save all that money in costs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a business decision.
You're so right, man. Like we used to have we used to be the envy of the world. We had the world's manufacturing base, and then we let all these motherfuckers, capitalists, to be honest, because who fucking outsourced it to the fucking other countries for the cheapest dime. And honestly, man, that to me is and I've said this before with the immigration shit. It's like that's why the border problem has existed so long, because these motherfuckers are taking advantage of cheap labor, cheap immigrant labor. If those fuckers try to unionize or demand like better pay or do anything against the corporation, they just fucking ship them back to their country.
Get out of here. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm glad that people are starting to see that, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that we have anything against these people.
Totally.
I've worked with some of the hardest working Mexican people ever that would 10 to 1 probably outwork any white guys you could hire. But it's like, we got to fix this system, and unfortunately, it's going to suck for a lot of them for these first couple of years, probably. But in the long term, if America can get back its glory days and we can get our system and our shit figured out here, it will be better for them or their families to try and come in here legally and be part of the American dream.
And also, man, I think that if we get our house in order, that's the other thing I like about Trump. We'll stop fucking with these other countries and let them kind of do their thing. And then there won't be a migrant crisis. We won't be blowing up their fucking countries.
Well, that's something that I've never understood is we got to have these people coming in, our farmers need them. Farmers are the same way. They need cheap labor, which I get it. It's a business decision. If I can hire 5 white guys that cost as much as 20 Mexicans, does that really make sense? No. Farmers already have, I work directly with farmers. So it's like they already have a rough time as it is.
The way the system is set up, it was set up to enable that kind of a thing too. And if we fix that, that's the conventional wisdom is that if you get rid of all these immigrant laborers, it's going to drive prices up and everyone's going to fucking be broke. But there's other things I think Trump is kind of doing on the back end to counterbalance that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And honestly, so dude, this is the other thing. Jimmy Dore was actually reading this piece earlier. I was watching one of his video clips, and he was reading a piece from CNN, and CNN was saying what they're doing to start, and I thought this was pretty brilliant, is that Lutnick guy that Trump appointed. They're doing these tariffs, and then they're going to fucking measure the results of them and adjust after the first quarter. So in April,
which is weird. That's a business idea right there.
Exactly. So in April, they're going to go, okay, we put these tariffs on in February. Here's how they affected the economy. And then they can go, okay, well, maybe we'll pull this one back a little bit, or we'll ramp this one up a little bit. And it sounds like they're fucking, again, people are mad because a lot of the permanent Washington people that are all intertwined with the media, dude, that's the other thing about the media. Dana Bash from CNN, the blonde woman, her husband is Jeremy Bash. Well, they might be divorced now, but at the time, for the last 12 years, or whatever, he was the head of the CIA under Obama, or some high position in the CIA under Obama, and his wife is the fucking voice of CNN.
I can't remember who. There's been somebody connected the dots years ago, and there's so and so, and especially in the media. And who they're related to or who they're married to, and it's oh, now I can see what's going on here now.
What's her name? Andrea Mitchell is married to what's that fucking dickhead's name? Dershowitz. Alan Dershowitz. Yeah. Holy shit!
So nothing going on here, folks.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, it's crazy, but like I say, it's the conspiracies is what they really are, but the ones when they know they're an actual conspiracy, then they just add theories onto the end of it. It's these conspiracy theorists and they're a bunch of Looney Tunes, and it's Well, here's the facts on this last conspiracy theory, and it seems like it's a conspiracy fact.
Yeah, well, conspiracy, like that always, conspiracy, if you notice, always has to have the word theory attached to it to make it seem like a conspiracy.
Make it seem like it's
crazy.
Oh yeah,
Meanwhile,
it's a bunch of crazy
conspiracy
people.
conspiracy is like a fucking legitimate charge, like a legal charge they can hit you with.
Yeah, and just think of how many of those are actual conspiracies that nobody ever. This is what pisses me off. And every time I see clips and stuff about, there's these guys did this, and now we have the evidence on it, and I was like, not one of these people will go to jail. It's never happened before, and it won't happen now because nobody has the balls to be the person that's going to go and arrest them and follow through on the case, because there's way too much corruption in that little area to get these people to pay for their crimes. They're essentially above the law. Like they like to cry out against Trump. No one's above the law. It's like, well, you're kind of proving that because none of you guys are in jail.
Totally. There's no accountability. Well, like for the
that's what everybody's got tired of. It's no accountability for these people.
Exactly.
They're real criminals.
Yeah.
And we're the ones that pay the price.
Well, and there's a lot of people that argue what's going on right now is one corrupt, fucking organized crime faction that ran Washington lost power to another organized crime faction under the Trump regime or whatever. That's one theory, which I don't, humans are inherently self-interested, right? Like they're going to they're going to fucking take shit for their own interest. However,
and you're going to go for yourself, me, myself, and I, and my family, and
totally
everybody else second.
However, just on the people that Trump is appointing alone, like Tulsi and RFK, I'm like, dude, the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was a person who they put a fucking person who served her country in the military and in Congress, who they put on a fucking terrorist watch list because she said something about and Trump's putting her in charge of national intelligence. That is like the most beautiful fucking, like him taking away John Bolton's security clearance is
you know what, that should be essentially
best
what
thing
happens
ever
to all these people when they're out of office. Why do they still hold security clearances?
Oh,
they should not have anything to do with the government, and that's the deep state that people don't understand. There you go again. Oh,
fuck!
This guy's a conspiracy theorist. He's talking about the deep state.
Oh no, they're
then
you've
bought the lie of what the deep state really is. That's these people that have been in power forever. They still, like John Brennan had his CIA security clearance, and he got pissed off a couple days ago because they can't take away my clearance. And it's they should have, after you left, 10 years ago?
But also, those are the fucking dudes who did the 51 intelligence officers say that Biden's Hunter's laptop is Russian, has all the earmarks or hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And honestly, those people went so hard at Trump to the point where some people shot bullets at that guy. It's good to see them get their just desserts, now that he's in, fuck those people. They deserve it. Like John Bolton, especially. God damn it. I hate that guy.
Well, he was another war hawk that would, I would love to be able to just have the actual files of all the crap and the emails and the texts and whatever else of these criminals that have got us into more wars throughout the last 50 years.
Hey, if Kash Patel gets in there, you might get him.
I would love to see it, but with that, I would like to see people start going on trials. People arrested and getting tried. Let's have a fair trial, not like the Donald Trump show where, we're just going to public opinion send out the mobs with pitchforks and stuff. Let's put them out in front of the world, lay the facts out, and if they're damning, then they should be penalized for it. There's no rules for thee and not for the rest of us.
It's so crazy to think of how far we've come because, even with the J6 stuff, it's I was one of the liberal lefty people who knew that was a facade from day one because I had friends that were there, doing indie media and shit that were like, yo, this was not
they don't understand the internet.
Yeah.
It's like people were live
Clearly, they don't.
streaming shit on Facebook. It's like, why are these
Yeah.
buses coming here and all these people dressed exactly the same, all unload off of these buses and then just kind of scatter around the Capitol? It's like nothing weird about
Confidential
that.
informants.
Yeah, right.
That's what, dude. All those people that they see. Okay, every time I see on Twitter, and I haven't seen them as much on the news lately, but those like lines of dudes marching with masks and glasses.
The Patriot Front.
Yeah, like, dude, when is a reporter going to go up to one of those guys and get their name and their identity?
And just pull down one of their
Like,
masks
yeah.
and get a face.
It's
and
just like, look at these scary Nazi guys. Like, dude, okay, let's find out who these Nazi guys are because they're probably fucking federal agents.
Well, supposedly they were out here in Harriman just the other day. Somebody
Really?
posted some stuff on it, and you could see the Harriman City Building or whatever name in the background. I was like, oh boy.
Well, what's beautiful is that black people get it too, like people of color. So I wanted to tell you this little tidbit. I thought this was great. A friend who will remain unnamed is a liberal, and she had a run-in with a Hispanic woman who is a Trump supporter, and she was telling me that this woman was like, her and her husband, they're Americans, but they're Hispanic. They're like second generation,
right?
And her husband got really sick at the hospital, and they had to like put their house up for refi to get the money to pay the hospital bills. And the lady at the hospital flat out told them, "Oh, it's too bad you're not illegal, or we could fucking give you all this free shit."
Yeah.
And she's like, "That's what made this woman a Trump supporter, a fucking Latin woman."
Well, and if you're not for the socialist just handouts, and I like the social net.
I don't think anyone's for handouts though, man. I feel like that's a demonization.
But it's like feeding the bears though. They get these people.
But is it a handout though? But here's the thing, like Social Security and fucking Medicare and stuff, like you pay into that shit. Like it's not a handout. It's like a safety net that you're paying into. I mean, no one thinks it's free, right? I think it's
not
that way.
It's not sustainable though, because back to the point of nobody's held accountable is there's so much fraud, and nobody in the government saying no, you can't have this or whatever, that it's costing us, even though we're paying into it as what it was set up originally to be. It's being abused because nobody's being held accountable for the people that are abusing it to the tune of millions to tens of millions of dollars a year.
Well, I don't disagree with you, but
it could be better. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. The other option when it comes to healthcare, like my argument will always be for public healthcare, is because it's a situation that works in every other civilized country. But like here, what's crazy is people are so propagandized. They'll argue for private healthcare, which is basically the same fucking thing, but there's just a bunch of rich cunts in the middle, like taking money and trying to prevent you from getting your insurance. People with insurance.
Well, that's been our biggest problem, right?
Yeah.
How do we get to the point? And I think that's been some of our biggest arguments ever. Is like, okay, I get where you're coming from, and maybe it should be, but how do you pay for it without the scam artists that are sucking like where the money should be going and it doesn't go there? That's what pisses me off about paying taxes, even to our federal government, because you start getting the Rand Pauls and those guys coming out and saying, hey, you want to know where these grant monies and all this NGO money is going? That we willy-nilly pass these stupid bills, and this is where $1 million went here for this stupid study here and another ridiculous stuff.
Sure. I'm 100% with you on that. I just think that like people are like that level of skepticism needs to be applied, especially to the military budget, because it's like people are like, well, how are we going to pay for it with healthcare? But it's like, dude, no one ever asked that question when they're dumping 80 billion into Israel or Ukraine. And Israel,
when you almost have we're up and closer to $1 trillion budget a year for the military. Yeah. And then the last 7 audits they've had, they can't account for. I don't even remember what the number was. It was astonishing.
So let me ask you this, because this is where I got with all this shit recently, like the epiphany I had. I'm like, we can clearly afford all this bullshit. So why not spend the money on shit that's actually going to benefit our society? Because I think like public healthcare, for example, and it doesn't have to be like everyone has to have public healthcare. It's like there's a base level.
There should be a mix.
There should be a base level public healthcare option that covers you whether you have insurance or not. So if you get sick and you fucking can't work, you don't fucking go bankrupt. That's it. It's that simple. But then
And
if you
that's
make
a good
enough money,
safety net that we should
right?
have set up.
But then if you make enough money, you should also fucking. But anyway, the point I was getting to is that like we can clearly again afford all this shit. Like if we can dump $80 zillion into Ukraine unaudited or whatever, like I would rather like dump all that money into healthcare for the public, because another thing I think
a lot of people would, because we
This
see
is the
what's
prob-
happening. It's like you got FEMA pretends to show up on these natural disasters. They pretend to we got like $2 million. You know how far $2 million is going to go to even these poor communities? You're going to rebuild like 5 houses. No, not.
Well,
but I'm just saying, it's like we can only spend $2 million on our own people, but we can just keep sending tens and hundreds of billions of dollars to
what is I call it Ukrainistan, because it's clearly like the money laundering op that replaced Afghanistan. But before I forget this, I was going to make a pro-gun argument for national health care, because I think that most mass shootings or school shootings are because of mental health care. And I think that if you give the American public health care, a lot of school shootings will go away. Like you won't have to worry about fucking people trying to fucking make gun laws anymore, because
I think there's a problem with that though, and it's our own ideology here in America. Like people like me and hundreds of millions, probably more, of people like me that believe in the basic principles of the Constitution, and just we're not criminals, but every time something happens, we're the first ones to get demonized, and our rights are the first ones they want to take away. And I think it's just a power struggle on the Democrat side, you know.
What do you think about this though? Because I feel like when that happens, that's what like people like you, they propagandize the fuck out of you into like, oh, they're coming to take your guns, to get you whipped up in a frenzy where it's like no one's ever like, I've never heard one fucking like argument for like gun law or better regulation was like, we need to ban all guns. That's serious. I mean, I'm sure there are like fucking outliers that are like ridiculous people, but I don't think it's possible to ban guns.
You get the people like Pierce Morgan. He's
British. Fuck him. Yeah.
He's still way anti-gun, but he doesn't get it. It's like the reason why.
Yeah. I've come a long way, for the record, on this. I'm definitely, especially after COVID, I'm a lot more like pro Second Amendment than I was probably before. But I still think like I said, I don't think you have to do anything with gun laws if you give Americans access to mental health care.
And get rid of a lot of the what the heck is there's some kind of
antidepressants.
Yeah,
dude.
That's with a lot of these kids.
Man. Dude,
so it's like if we really looked into what a lot of the causes were for these people, I mean, they've had mental problems to begin with,
pharmaceuticals,
and that's like I say, you seen what happened there in Congress with RFK Jr. and the people just demonizing him to the hilt, and it's like why do we not want to be a healthier country right now? I mean, look around, we're so unhealthy and sick. That would right there itself eliminate a lot of our health care problems and
totally. That will help.
If you got a healthy population, you don't need as much health care.
Exactly. Well, and what's fucked up is
it doesn't make money. You got to be sick. You got to have patience, you know.
Also, a lot of these companies are invested in the problem and the solution.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's
pay
profitable
off the scientists
to have,
and everybody say, "Oh, look, 25 scientists say that sugar is good for you now."
And then we can sell you a diabetes drug on the other side of it once you're fucking diabetic.
Or what's going on right now? I see all these commercials now for that fat shot. I don't remember what it's called, but
Ozempic.
Yeah, or whatever. There's a few of them, I think, but it's like, so
that was the basic.
We're gonna make you fat. Now we're gonna come up with something else to sell you. You don't like being fat. So we'll just sell you another drug that we can make a shit ton of money off of that may or may not kill you in the long term because we don't know yet.
Dude, it's those pharmaceutical companies have so much power through advertising budgets, and that's a world I come from. So I know
they had such a pushback when people were talking about, like, why are we one of the only countries in the world that allows drug companies to advertise on national television?
Can I tell you something else? I think one of the big reasons we have the trans debate so heavy is
Yeah,
because
where did that
it's
come
because
from?
of pharmaceutical companies. Because guess who sells the fucking drugs
That's
to
true.
fucking transition people?
I never made that connection, but
Oh,
you're
dude, Jimmy
right.
Dore actually did a great piece. He showed a goddamn fucking like meeting they had with these plastic surgery doctors who were like showing a chart with the increase of like what do they call it, like rhinoplasty, like genitalplasty,
Oh, yeah?
fucking cutting people's dicks off and making vaginas and stuff.
Right.
And so it's like that's another aspect that people don't think about. And listen, if you're an adult and you think you're a woman, you want to transition, that's fine. It's America.
Right.
But like with kids, come on. You
Yeah.
can't even get a tattoo before you're 18. Like that's fucking insane. And it's
Yeah,
these
but what-
pharmaceutical companies that are pushing it because
And
there's
what I
money in
find
it.
really sad though is like I've seen the different clips, where the mom or the dad of the very parents that should be protecting these kids are pushing them through this transition stuff. It's like, are you doing this for your kid? Or are you doing it to be popular
Bro,
with this crowd?
Can I tell you something?
At the sacrifice of your own damn children.
There's this guy I know, and I'm not going to name his name, but he was an actor, like not a big actor either in LA, but like kind of like he like do these like local theater plays. Like he's like one of those guys that he was kind of, dude. He honestly, when I think about this guy's personality, he literally reminds me of like the bad guy in every '80s movie.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
he's like that guy, like the dickhead with the like collared shirt on, that like plays tennis or polo or something.
Right.
But he was like at this party, like going on. He was mad at me because I made a joke about trans people or something. Like it wasn't like a malicious joke. Like I'm not a hater against trans people, but he's like my son is trans or and he's there, blah blah blah. Like got on this like high horse, and I'm just like, wow, dude. Like,
and there was like this weird thing that went on in Hollywood where they all coming out and claiming their kids were trans. Like it was
he was clearly doing it for the room because we were like in a public place and like there was a lot of other people around. So it was almost like a performance. He's like, well, I'm so righteous because my child is trans. And I'm just like, okay, dude, like,
it's like
again,
that's the point where you're like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
You're playing this
guys
up.
Are all totally fake.
To your point too, it's more about him than it is the kid.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like,
and I've argued this forever. Kids can be easily manipulated. Whether you want to say that teaching them about Christianity is, manipulating them and indoctrinating them. Yeah, it kind of is. But is it better to indoctrinate them into trying to be a better person through those values versus, oh, you can just be whatever you want whenever you want? You can change your gender at the whim, and it's like, I don't know.
Listen,
their own, I guess, but it's sad.
To put a counterpoint in on this, I'm one of those people who, and you probably agree with this too. I do think sexuality is a spectrum to a degree because there are very manly women and very womanly men or very feminine men.
Yeah.
So there is a degree of
But like you still can't change the genomes other than some very small little fraction.
But also there are two ends to that spectrum. And if there aren't two genders, then transgender doesn't mean anything at all. Like, why would you transition to a gender that doesn't exist? You know what I mean? Like,
but you can't say that, you hater. You bigot.
No, but again, it's like I'm also arguing in favor of like, dude, if you look at like I grew up next door to a lesbian who was a truck driver who looked literally dressed like Larry the Cable Guy, like shirtless fucking plaid shirts and like had a mullet, like, but she had kids. She was a woman, but a very manly, you know what I mean? So it's like I could understand her, like she's kind of transgender. She's like a woman, a female, like a woman who has like the body parts to give birth to children, but looks like a fucking man. Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, not everybody's blessed with good looks like myself,
Oh, me either. I mean, you should see how shiny this head is when I take my hat off.
I'm just messing with you. But yeah, it seems like nobody gave a shit though until what? 10 years ago, maybe.
Well,
and it seemed like it just started ramping up ever since then. But like you say, maybe it was just because
money.
Pharmaceuticals were pushing this stuff in. They're like, oh shit, we can make this chemical. If we get these other dumbasses over here to start selling it to their kids,
I have
more there.
I have 3 words for you, sir. Gender affirming care.
Yeah, it's care.
Gender,
not mutilation, it's care.
Right. That's a fucking pharmaceutical construct. That's something that we need gender affirming care, which is like $3,000 a month fucking pills that turn you stop your fucking
sterilize you basically.
Hormones. Yeah. And so it's fucking that's the crazy thing about that, because again, it's like you said, why did this become like this thing that everyone's crazy about suddenly? That's why, because there's money in it.
And maybe they're selling those parents some kind of other pharmaceutical drug that's driving them to push it even harder.
Oh man, well,
you never know. And that's the bad thing, is because this long-term effect of all this crap, we're not going to see for another 5 or 10 years once these kids get older and be like, what the fuck did you do to me?
Totally, man. That's what the Ozempic shit. I anything that has like a miracle quality like that has some kind of strange back end side effect. Nothing's for free, baby.
Well,
like there's a fucking trade-off.
Joe Rogan was pointing something out that somebody was having like major bone density loss that was on something like that.
The drug literally paralyzes your stomach. Like it stops you from that's not healthy at all. Like
no,
that's Americans can't just like put in the work and like exercise and eat better. Like we'd have to just be able to take a pill and get.
Well, and here's where I think it comes into the food supply as well, because you start seeing like these cycles like Bill Gates out there trying to make fake meat and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's like,
dude,
we don't know. Maybe that stuff's okay, but until like 15, 20 years of study down the road,
it's not.
You're not going to know. Maybe it starts making you mutate, you know?
This is one area, man.
It's all could be intertwined though, between the drug companies and the food companies. They're probably all owned somewhere by the same people.
1,000%. BlackRock and Vanguard.
The other guys make the pills to help you make better. Oh, this stuff here that you keep eating makes you fat, but just take this shot over here that makes you skinny again. And then all they got to do is keep up the charade. So even if you could exercise and do all that stuff, if you're not basically growing and raising your own food,
you're being poisoned.
You're just putting the same shit back in you.
Totally.
That won't let you get skinny because it's such full of garbage.
And man, I noticed this because it's crazy. Like people used to say, because especially in poor communities, there's a lot of like hard obesity, like heavy obesity, and you see why now, because it's all their food is like all Arby's and McDonald's and like seed oils,
because it's the only shit that's affordable. You
exactly
can't get the actual good stuff and still survive.
And man, this is what's so funny. Like we're both agreeing on this, right? Like right and left leaning people, and this is like an issue. Make America healthy again. That will affect minority communities more than like almost anything else we're talking about right now.
Minorities and just poor communities in general.
Just Americans in general too. It's like, man, I saw even before this conversation became a thing with RFK and stuff. I remember going to this like family dinner, and this lady brought her kids, and the one kid was like, I'm not even kidding, he's probably 10 years old and he's like 300 pounds. And I'm like, dude, this is and honestly, I felt bad for his mother, because I know how I grew up, where my mom was like not at home, had to work. So she'd buy a fucking a box of Hot Pockets from Costco.
We didn't starve to death.
And we'd make our own fucking.
Obviously not the best food for you, but it's something you can throw in the microwave and be
at
least eat.
So we've created this world in which like a woman like her, who has 3 kids and is a single mother and has to work and feed her kids, has to feed them this fucking garbage food that makes them fat and fucking like unhealthy, and then she has to go fucking pay for healthcare for them on the back end because they're all diabetic now, and they like play sports. They're normal kids, but they're it blew me away. I'm like, wow, dude, these kids are fucking huge. There's no excuse for this at that age.
And even if RFK can get in there and expose a lot of this stuff, 4 years they're not going to be around a whole lot longer, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like in 4 years, does that all just go back to the way it was before?
Well,
it's got to be a vigilant thing with everybody on board to keep it going versus, he's not in office fighting for us anymore, so we'll just give up on it and go back to eating the garbage we've been eating.
Well, I really like JD Vance, and I think Trump made a good pick for his legacy on that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I've seen him on a couple podcasts, and he's a normal dude.
I like the guy a lot, and he's very smart.
He's weird.
Right.
I was like,
normal guy, dude. Also,
the people
biracial family.
are the weirdest people I've ever seen.
Yeah. Also a biracial family, like fucking beautiful wife and like biracial children. But the point I was getting to around RFK is the good thing is he has the public behind him. Like I talk to a lot of people and a lot of people are wise to this now. People are like, yo, we're being poisoned. Like, what the fuck? Like seed oils were literally made to lubricate machinery, like vegetable oil and shit like that. And we're like cooking our food in it.
When I started seeing like people actually exposing that, which I was kind of surprised, because you start seeing these clips coming through on like Instagram and stuff. And it's like, I'm really surprised they haven't flagged this and taken it off.
Totally. Yeah.
But I don't know. Mark Zuckerberg says he's gonna change it around, and go to community notes and freedom.
We'll see.
And, that's kind of like
because I posted Elizabeth Warren in a snake emoji the other day, and Instagram instantly gave me the like other people have been flagged for making this post.
Well, and that's what I think the problem is with the algorithm, because if anybody flags that and there's not an actual person there to go through and look at what gets flagged and say that doesn't need to be flagged and take it out of the algorithm. I've noticed that too. Like if there's certain, like if I get on here and I write something out, I can't put retard there unless I capitalize the T, and it won't flag me.
Well, that word's a lot more accepted than some of the other ones, but
well, I thought it was funny because I'd just spell out retard, calling somebody a retard for saying something retarded.
Yeah.
And it would flag me. Do you want to change what you're saying before you post this? I'm like, no, why would I want to do that? I want to know that they're a retard.
Yes.
And, and this is no dig on handicapped people. This is just a word that means that this person is saying something like with their head up their behind. But yeah, I found that out. If you capitalize like a middle letter in between it, the AI doesn't read it, so it won't flag you for it. I'm like, that's interesting.
I'm a free speech. I consider myself a free speech absolutist because unless you're making a violent, if you're making a death threat against somebody, that's already illegal, right? Like if I go on social media.
Because you got a lot of Democrats calling for violence and a lot of other shit, and none of their stuff gets flagged.
But again,
no investigation into them calling out for people to go harm other people.
You can twist unless someone's directly like making violent threats against you. I say it's okay. Because you can block people, you can and anything can be twisted any way you want. And if you don't have it that way, then anyone's a fucking victim. You know what I mean? Anyone's oh, well, he tried to assault me. It's like, did he? What did he say? He said, I hope his head explodes or something. It's like, dude, that's not assault. Like he said something towards you that like sounds kind of violent, but it's vague, and fuck off. Like block him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, but if someone says, I'm coming to your house to like blank you, like that's a different story. Like that's and then you have a documented threat like of violence against you. You know what I mean?
For me, I would say, come on.
Of course,
I got plenty of lead.
Everybody's a real tough guy on the internet. Yeah, let's talk in person and see. How,
like I don't think you really want to show up at my house.
Also, like I want to meet people in person, not for violence. Like let's talk in person and like face to face and like understand each other. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to fucking fight you.
You know how it is. Everybody's a keyboard warrior, talks tough, and I mean, I've been seeing all these clips of these teachers. If ICE comes here, we're gonna do this. I'm like, you ain't gonna do shit. Because first of all, you're a teacher at a school, and you're fat and out of shape. What are you really gonna do? All they got to do is throw a Twinkie, and you're gonna go off running, scrambling around on the ground.
I saw this comedy thing on TikTok earlier that was so good. This woman's like, she goes, I'm a liberal, but it's kind of indefensible at this point. Like if there was like a zombie apocalypse, like the zombies would be coming to get us and we're like, oh no, the zombies, and the liberals would be like, they like to be called the undead.
Yeah. As they're eating their brains.
Yeah.
I'm fine with this because I really can't tell them no.
She like, and then she's like, you have all these liberals walking around with shirts that say the undead are alive.
How dare you call them zombies?
Yeah, it's like that kind of shit has become so caricaturized where it's like, do you people not see how like the people that like
just come to anything that Trump or conservatives say, we have got to be absolutely against it. And exactly opposite.
It's a weird thing. They're trained like dogs.
Yeah.
I noticed this with Joe Rogan. Like, it made me so mad because people that like were really smart. Like, I got into it with my daughter a few years ago. My daughter, by the way, has come around a lot. Like, she sent me a thing the other day about how the CIA fucking said COVID came from a lab, and I was like, I told you. Because her and her mother were mad at me for a long time that I was like skeptical about shit. And I'm
Well,
like,
that's
dude,
the thing.
fuck y'all. Like, fuck you. I'm not feeling this shit right now. Like,
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, if you know the back history of the CIA and the dirty shit they've done, it makes you hard to believe anything they really tell you anymore. Because, like,
oh,
you guys have perpetuated such horrible things on your own citizens,
dude,
just as an experiment.
can I
And
tell
then
you
when you
something?
guys, so what was your deal? You was talking about you got flagged for health misinformation or something.
Oh man. Okay, let me set this up. First of all, what I was going to tell you is me and my brother Derek, like him and Gina were like kind of anti-vax back in the day. And like I used to make fun of him for it. And we got in a big argument about it. Like we didn't hate each other or whatever, but like after like post-COVID, I like called him and apologized to him. I was like, dude, I'm so sorry that I thought you were dumb for that. Because like when you start looking like you're like, holy shit, we're so propagandized. So anyway,
Yeah.
what I got banned for, this is so fucking crazy, dude. And I have a couple of the recent things that have been happening with this channel even. And we've had like 22 people watching. But so what happened was I posted a video. So first of all, I do the way I usually do my content is I do a live stream. I got this from Jimmy Dore, the king.
Gotcha.
But he'll do a live stream and he'll cut segments out and then post them as videos with a thumbnail.
All right.
So that's kind of like the business model or the like at least the
Right.
method I kind of copied basically
Right.
to give him all the credit. Like I thought I was like, oh, that makes sense because then you have like I kind of set up the segments with the clips and talk a little bit and then I cut them up in these. So I did the live stream, no problem. Cut this clip out of Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn talking about RFK. And dude, this is the best part. The thumbnail was a picture of RFK with both middle fingers up in front of the White House. I think that's why they banned it. Because it was like RFK Jr. The caption said RFK Jr. to Democrats, and it was like him in front of the White House. But the whole thing was Joe and Theo were talking about like Theo Vaughn is friends with Bobby Kennedy because they were in like Narcotics Anonymous together.
Right. Okay.
And so he's like, Bobby's a genuinely good person. He's like, I can vouch for him. Like, he's a good dude. He's like, I don't know much about his politics or anything, but I know that guy is a good man. Like, I've been around.
And what's kind of telling too is look at his family. They're all against him. They've like totally flipped and gone whack job, like trying to accuse him of all these things. It's like, you know, when people are starting to hit the nail on the head, that's when you start seeing these other people turning on them. And you start seeing the stupid shit they start claiming about them. It's like, something's just not add up here.
I go back to the election the election results made me so happy because I think America sees through that kind of shit now. I think we're propagandized to think that the general populace is dumb. Dude, Americans are smart, dude. We're way smarter.
Like I say, we have information right here at our
Exactly.
fingertips all the time. And like I say, you got to dig. There's so much garbage out there. You do have to dig through a lot of it to find out what the truth really is. You can't just say, oh, these Fox News said this, so that's what's true, or CNN said this, that's absolutely true. Usually it's somewhere in the middle.
Kurt Metzger on Jimmy's show said it so well. He's like, dude, like mainstream news is clearly just actors reading a script. Like they literally don't ask any questions. The Pentagon or whatever the editors and the editing, they hand down the script and they fucking read it on today the fucking Pentagon said. They don't go like, well, the Pentagon said this and we investigated and here's what we found out. They go like the Pentagon said this. Next story.
That's like, what I started noticing about when reporters started saying on Twitter, we read that so-and-so said this. I'm like, so you guys are just repeating whatever garbage fits your narrative that somebody tweeted on Twitter? It's like, okay, I'm starting to see what's going on here. You guys aren't doing any investigating or trying to prove facts. You're just trying to be the first one to say so-and-so said this on Twitter. I was like, that's not news. You're just repeating propaganda for the most part.
Well, news breaks on Twitter too, but I think what was so great about this election cycle,
when you got every single network head, or like you said, reading the script, when people started putting together those montages of all these different reporters saying the
And the
exact
shit.
same words,
Yeah.
it's like it starts to click if you're paying attention. Like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here.
I worked in marketing for the longest time, so I like everything's marketing. Okay, what are these fuckers trying to sell me? And it's
no
like,
kidding. Huh?
yeah.
What's the clickbait in this one?
Right. What are these guys trying to sell? What's their agenda? Everybody's fucking and with the healthcare and the pharmaceutical stuff, it's like, I don't think that the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry haven't done some good things. Like there's a lot of good drugs that do help people, but also like they have so much control through advertising. And bro, when I was in sales, I worked in ad sales, and we would get these fucking charts of like, okay, here's where all the ad budget is. Because as a salesperson, you want to know, like, these are the companies that have all the money that you want to go get their ad money for your fucking shit. So they
pay the bills.
75% of that pie chart was healthcare and pharmaceutical companies. 75% of the ad budget that runs every goddamn media outlet that lives on ads is pharmaceutical and healthcare fucking money. Yeah. So none of those companies are going to say anything bad about the blessed healthcare and pharmaceutical companies.
You see the pushback with RFK, so
yeah, it's great.
And like I say, it's going to be an interesting 4 years with the people Trump's been appointing there. And the deep state is kind of cleaning itself out with all these buyout things that Trump's been announcing, and just people we're resigning because we know they're probably going to get rid of a bunch of departments. So these people are going to be out of jobs anyways for the most part. But it's like, every time we have a government shutdown, what do our congressional representatives tell us? Oh, well, we're not shutting down the essentials that we need. It's like, well, then why do we have all these non-essential people working for us?
What are we shutting down then?
Yeah, it's like, what are we shutting down? Oh, and then they
because the world never falls apart during a government shutdown. Like everything seems to be fine.
Are glad when it's like, shut it down. What's it gonna hurt? I mean, it does suck for like the people that really are in a position where they're trying to do their job, because it's not everybody. I mean, it kind of gets blanketed that way, but it's like,
my brother-in-law works for the Air Force, and he's affected by this shit. Like, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the
no, and it's not good for stuff like that. But at the same time, these are these departments though that we keep growing and growing, and that's why there's been so many. Libertarians especially are like, look, we got to get a control on the size of the government. We can't just keep growing it and expect our national debt to go down when we keep upping. I think what is it? We spend more on our military than the next closest 27 countries or something like that.
Man, and it's because there has never been any accountability for waste. Remember fucking Rumsfeld before 9/11? Have you seen the thing about Rumsfeld before 9/11? Like, we can't find $3 trillion, $3 trillion. Like, it's literally like 9-10. He's like, we can't find like $3 trillion. Next day, a fucking missile hits like the accounting wing of the Pentagon.
Yeah, right. The accounting wing, and it takes out like the stock market, so nobody can trace back anything.
What the fuck happened? Who knows?
The 9/11
I don't know.
9/11 Commission puts out a report, and 40 pages of it are redacted.
Yeah. Dude, and this is what that guy on Tucker this morning that I was listening to, man, you should listen to it. It's really good because he's talking about not only the JFK incident, but also MLK and RFK. RFK's dad.
Yeah, I seen a clip about that today. It looked pretty interesting.
It was so good because it
makes sense though. He was an ex-CIA, right?
And bro, the reason that they don't want these files out, I could almost guarantee you, is because a certain country that we support in the Middle East had a lot to do with the end of JFK, because he didn't like they stole nuclear secrets, and he wanted them to register as a foreign agent, which to this day they're one of the only countries in they're not registered as a foreign agent, and there are literally laws if you like boycott, you can get in trouble for it. Like it's a weird dynamic, like that we're the puppet of that fucking.
Yeah, and it's like,
entity.
How did these laws get passed in the first place?
Yeah, through lobbies.
Who signed on to these? Yeah,
through all these. Dude, Thomas Massey has quickly become my favorite person in Congress. But like, he's the guy who said everyone has an APAC handler.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's where all the big money goes to, because that's the loophole.
Yeah, and
with donations.
Right, and like this is the thing. like I've never even really known that much about Israel. I don't claim to know that much about. I'm not even against us helping Israel completely. Like maybe we should help Israel. I don't think we shouldn't, but like also we shouldn't just blindly throw money at them or fucking like let them run our goddamn country by fiat through fucking lobbies and fucking controlling Congress. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's why I don't know. I don't know what the answer is really, because it's like I said, it's gotten so bloated over the last 50 years, probably, I would say.
Yeah.
And then like say once you get all these unaccountable people, and that's what I've kind of noticed with Congress in general, is they kind of punt their power to the president, depending on who's in power and on both sides. So you get all these executive orders, you get people that are appointed by said president or whatever into positions of power. They write the rules, not laws. They write the rules. And then they're the ones that are still there after that president's gone, because they kind of get disappeared into the system.
Mhm.
And that's, and then it just keeps building and building into what became the deep state. Because these
Yeah.
people have been appointed by presidents, and they're going to protect their interest of their position by not being really noticed by the public.
Yeah,
So they can blame everything onto the current president, but really it's been going on before whoever's in office at any given time.
Look at the career of Dick Cheney. And
Yeah.
like, dude, seriously, because
And
he was,
yeah.
but also before any of that, like he was always the guy behind the scenes. He worked for like
that works.
the Nixon
great for 'em, though.
administration,
It works
the
great
Reagan
for 'em.
administration.
Don't be out there in public having people actually looking into what
Yeah.
you are doing. It's brilliant, if you ask me.
Those are the guys that wield the real power, because eventually he got into the vice president position.
Yeah.
And that's where he wielded the most power, and he was kind of like the most in the spotlight, even though he wasn't really. It was really Bush.
Yeah.
It was more the front man for that. But like, that's a guy who, a good example of the deep state, a guy who was permanent Washington, who worked for multiple administrations and realized, oh, I can like weasel my way into this position and make a bunch of money for my private company through the government. And now everyone does that.
Oh yeah, Lindsey Graham, he's a good one that's been out on himself lately too.
Oh
He's
my
just like,
God.
we need to send more money to these people, like just war hawking it up. I'm like, why is he still in power? I mean, I thought Kentucky was a little smarter than that, but
And McConnell too. Yeah.
Oh
as
yeah,
another one. Oh my
McConnell.
God.
And
All those people, Pelosi,
those
on
people
the
I can-
Democratic side, they all need to go.
Yeah, I mean, look at what's her name? I'm drawing a blank now. From California, the other lady,
Feinstein. Yeah,
They
dude.
before she died, they were wheeling her in there on a wheelchair to vote on stuff. It's like
The Democrats
doing?
Dude, literally the campaign poster of the Democrats for the last 4 years was like Biden, like fucking demented ass Biden. Remember when there are so many good clips of Biden? Like I have one in my intro where he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, a man who leads the country with the most courage and heart, President Putin." Like he literally introduced fucking Zelensky as President Putin at a fucking event. He's so fucking. And then there's like the footage of him like what? Like my favorite was at the Trump debate when he's like, "We could still beat Medicare."
Yeah,
like out of nowhere, and then the CNN people are trying to cover for it. And they're like,
What he
thinking-
really meant was,
Yeah.
I was like,
but yeah, that's the
you can see
Democrat.
the shields.
Like that's the status quo politics. The Mitch McConnell having his fucking stroke on camera.
Walking up like a zombie. It's like, is that really him or is that a robot?
Yeah, term limit.
They're
Like
just doing what their handlers are telling them to do.
Matt Gaetz was just on Bill Maher's, not real time, but Bill Maher's like podcast. It's called like Club
okay.
Random. And he said something that I thought was so cool because he's like, Bill Maher's like, well, as a congressman, he's like former congressman. And then he goes, I think your time in Congress should be limited. He's like, I was in politics. He's like, I was a state representative for like I was in the House of Congress from 26 to like 40 or whatever, however old he is now. So he's like, I was in there for like 18 years. He's like, and I think that's it. Like, that's a period of my life that's over. And I don't think you should be in Congress longer than that. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
For like 40 years.
Yeah, for these people that are literally career politicians.
40 years and are worth hundreds of millions of dollars by the time you retire.
And fuck, man, like I'm not against you like going into Congress and then writing a book and making a couple million off your memoir or whatever, but like getting in there and then just staying in there and insider trading and like making up fake things, like
Oh yeah, I think I was watching a clip today about Nancy Pelosi when she started versus currently, and how much year after year, how many millions of dollars she would gain in her worth. It's like,
I do got to say, young Pelosi was pretty smoking hot. Like,
I mean, even for her age, she still looks good. But I mean, that's what
yeah, I
plastic
agree.
surgeons can do.
Yeah, right. That doesn't mean, yeah, even at her age now, she's got a nice rack and stuff. I'm like, looking good, Pelosi. But I still don't agree with her. Pelosi called me. If Paul called me and told me to come over because he's going out with the hammer guy.
You'd be like, yeah, I'm busy tonight.
I'll be like, oh, I'll take care of your wife for you, Paul.
No, it's just crazy where we've gotten. I don't, and realistically, looking at it from like a bigger perspective, we've allowed this to happen. We, the people,
totally.
We've just and I think pre really having as much information as we have now. And I get it. I was the same way. I didn't want anything to do with it. I was like, I'm just trying to grind and make a living, and try and make it. I don't have time to keep paying attention to all this crap. But it's like anymore, it's like, if I don't pay attention, it's screwing me.
Then you realize that politics affects your life.
Oh yeah. And so, I try and delicately educate my family on that stuff, and they don't want to hear it most of the time.
Of course.
But if they come to me with questions about certain things, because they start noticing things as well, and it's like, do you want to know the truth, or do you want me to sugarcoat it for you? Because I'll tell you straight up the truth. I'm not afraid to tell my kids what's up. My wife tries to sugarcoat it a little bit, and it's just the two different ways we parent. I'm like, I would rather them know the hard truth than fluffy side of it. It's like, tell them the tooth fairy's still real. I mean,
that's good though. It's probably good for your kids to have both dynamics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
I had that balance as a kid, and I think it was it was healthy, because my dad was a little more hippy dippy, kind of like, oh, do what you want. And my mom was like, no, fucking, you need to work, you need to go to school, you need to do what you're supposed to do, you need to be responsible.
Yeah. Well, and luckily, because the way inflation and everything's been hitting, because my wife pays all the bills, so she's starting to see a little bit more about my crazy rants about stuff that, oh, here goes dad, my kids, here goes dad talking about politics again. I was like, you kids don't understand though, how much this stuff affects your lives even right now.
Yeah.
And you're not paying taxes and all that stuff that you're going to be someday. And I'm trying to help you understand and navigate that before it gets worse, because if you just go into it like I did for 20 some odd years of my life before I started paying attention, it doesn't end well. And we're starting to see, that kind of come to fruition.
Well, one of the things I like about Trump and his MO is I don't know if you've seen this whole dynamic recently where Nicole Shanahan came out basically and said, any of you, basically she goes, I fucking got John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock elected in Atlanta by dumping a bunch of money into their campaigns. I helped get them elected. And she's like, so Republicans that are trying to vote against RFK, I'm watching you motherfuckers and I'm coming for you. And it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, it's an oligarch controlling politicians. But I'm like, you know what? That's the only way you're going to get real change. Someone like Trump is uniquely equipped to fight these forces of the status quo. Can you imagine if a regular guy had the kind of lawsuits thrown at him that Trump has had? There's no way they could stand it. Trump can afford lawyers.
Not in that world, and everybody, when Trump first announced presidency, I mean, I'm just as guilty. I didn't know who Trump was. I knew him as the guy on a TV show that says you're fired all the time, and it's like, he didn't really hit with me. I'm like, this guy really? So I was conditioned, though, just like everybody else, about, we want a politician in there. We love the way our ears feel when they talk to us.
Yeah.
And that's how we voted. But then if you start listening to what he was saying and kind of understanding how Trump is and who Trump is, that's when it starts coming together. And you're like, okay, I can back this guy, because he's making sense, because I'm actually listening to what he's saying, not how he's saying it.
Yeah. Also, I have to admit, the fucking status quo made me like him. They really did. The more shit they threw at him, the more I was like, wow,
they don't
understand. They really hate this guy.
Yeah, they have no self-reflection though.
So
And
true.
they don't see it. They can't understand. They still
They're still,
I
yeah.
see, like, especially, like, I don't know how anybody watches The View. I watch the clips just for pure entertainment.
That's funny shit.
But it's like these people are still so gone in their head that, they can't understand America has to be racist because they elected this guy. And they can't see why it's his policies that we
Yeah.
like. It's like we don't understand Trump as, who he is because he is who he is, but we understand and we're hearing what he's trying to do because we understand those policies will start helping us, not just status quo like the politicians that talk well to your ears.
When you talk about not getting it too, it's just so funny to watch the party of Bill Clinton try to
Yeah.
like act like a guy who slept with a porn star is a big problem.
I know,
Suddenly it's like,
right?
what, dude? Are you fucking kidding me?
I seen
Like,
a
you
funny
guys are
meme.
gonna try to play the moral card now? Let's sit down. Come on.
Yeah, I seen a meme about Trump signing these executive orders, and it says this desk hasn't seen this much action since Bill Clinton was in office.
Probably.
I was like, oh, ouch.
And Trump actually praised Bill Clinton. I don't know if you saw that press conference. Like, one of the reporters was like, "Hey, you've been around a lot of ex-presidents or former presidents recently. Are there any, like, if you had to call on the advice of a former president, who would it be?" And I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting question." And the way he kind of danced around it a little bit, and he's like, "But I really like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, I think, he did a good job of communicating."
Oh, he was. He was a great communicator. That's what
Yeah.
got him 2 terms.
Right. It's when I look back on Clinton too, though, it's like he was so right wing, man. Like, a lot of the stuff, like, dude, all this
But
stuff.
yeah, like if they replay like clips of him speeches and stuff, he's saying
Yeah.
exactly what Republicans and conservatives are saying now. But it's
Totally.
just such a weird
Yeah.
dynamic how both sides have just totally switched.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like it really took root in the Obama era. Like, the reason the backlash against Trump was so hardcore, I think, is because all those people from the Obama administration thought they were going to comfortably slide into Hillary's
Right, yeah.
incoming.
He was the next anointed one. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, "Oh, we're gonna all the deep state people, all the fucking permanent Washington kids, the Jake Sullivans and the Tony Blinkens who eventually got in and puppeteered Biden."
Yeah.
Like, they thought they were gonna go in with Clinton. And when they lost, it was like, what the fuck? Like, he's a Russian. Yeah.
It's like, let's just start making some crazy. And I don't get it. It's like, I think Russia could be such an ally to us.
Oh, they are. They should. They're a capitalist country. The other thing is, when you look back on this too, man, and you may have thought about this, but like, the reason they demonized Russia as an interloper is because a couple years later they provoked that fucking, like, people want to say it was an unprovoked invasion, dude. Like, we totally gave their insurgents weapons on Russia's border. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I'm not
it's
saying
not
that it was
even
all
that.
our fault, but like, we definitely had a hand in it.
Well, and if you watch Putin's interviews with world leaders, there was an agreement signed
Yeah.
forever ago. I don't remember how many years ago, about not moving NATO
East
towards his border.
Yeah, dude.
So what do? We keep pushing the line and pushing the line, and then he keeps giving warnings. I mean, if you ask me, I think for the type of person he is, he had restrained himself quite a bit.
Oh, totally.
To a point where he's like, all right, fuck you guys. I'm going in.
Yeah, because so, like, even under Obama, when he retook Crimea, I didn't realize, because the way it was presented in the media was like, Putin just invaded Crimea. But
Yeah,
no,
he just did it on a whim. It's like,
yeah, Putin took Crimea. And a lot of the hawks, the John Boltons, I remember very well at the time, were like, Obama's a pussy.
Funneling the money.
He should start fighting Russia right now. Like, people were like, Mitt Romney was like one of the people who came like, Obama's a pussy. Like, he should be fighting Russia. And then I realized, like, way after, it was Putin took Crimea because we fucking overthrew the leadership in Ukraine. And he was like, oh, fuck, I got to grab that because the U.S. is going to take my port. You know what I mean? Like, it was so. Even
look what happened before that with Gaddafi.
Yeah,
there was really no reason we went in there to regime change.
Dude, I just think it's so.
I think there was a bunch of other crooked stuff going on.
Totally. Oh, dude, that's another
they had
thing.
to get rid of him to create that vacuum. I think they tried to make that vacuum for ISIS and those type of people to take over with no leadership. He was the only one that really kept that region somewhat stable.
Bro,
And as soon as he
that's
was
our
gone, you seen how fast all them other
Yeah.
groups came in there and took
So
over.
our MO since and this is what's so crazy about the last 10, 15 years is social media is so powerful. Like we fucking use social media to overthrow like the Arab Spring, right?
Yeah.
Like to help foment these revolutions. And then it happened here. Like people used it here, like not the state, like Trump used social media here to like not to oust like this status quo. And then they went, oh fuck, we gotta like stop that. And
Being
so then they're
used
like
against us.
disinformation. Russia said it. Russia did it. Like, you know, it's like, oh, okay.
It's like,
Now
you know,
I see.
I would love to have a good relationship with Russia again
Of
and be
course.
able to go visit there because they have a
Yeah.
huge, rich history there.
Yes.
And it's like a lot of these
Yeah.
countries that if we would quit sticking our noses in a lot of the politics and overthrowing governments and all the bullshit that we do,
Yeah.
the world would probably be in general a safer place.
Also, the world would love us. They would go back to loving us.
Well,
We've
and
lost our status in the world because of
until
that.
we can get these people out that are making money off of war,
Yeah.
like the Lindsey Grahams and the people
Yep.
that make policy essentially.
Yep.
I don't see anything changing. And like I say, until somebody's in there throwing down the hammer and people are getting prosecuted and going to jail, nothing's going to change.
Well, so what this guy was saying with the JFK files is a good example of this, where he's like, yeah, Trump's executive order. This guy on Tucker Carlson was talking about this. He's like, it's actually really good, and he's like, these are the things that it's going to get us that we didn't have before. But he's like, there's a loophole in this that says like the CIA director has to approve it, and he's like, and that right there is a red flag because historically that agency doesn't want accountability. They want to be able to fucking forego accountability by redacting all that shit. And if we're just going to get more hogwash that's approved by them, we're not going to get to the real truth here, you know?
Yeah. You know,
and
that's
it's
probably true because the CIA, I haven't found the complete facts, but it almost sounds like that's what happened when we lost their guys there in I'm drawing a blank again.
Afghanistan?
The movie that 13 Hours was made after.
Oh, Benghazi.
So the story I had been following is people were saying that the CIA was running guns to the opposition through there. And then for whatever reason, you know, it wasn't about that kid's stupid video. I watched that video. I was like, dude, if those people rioted over that video there and we're going to throw this kid in jail for making that video.
That.
And Hillary Clinton was all about blaming it on him. Obama
on the video.
It was this video of that, you know, they threw that kid in jail. He might still be in prison.
I fucking forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because that was like the first, like, oh, we got to regulate social media.
Cover-up. It was a complete cover-up. And that kid paid the price for it.
That I forgot
about. The media pushed it. Obama pushed it. Hillary Clinton pushed it. A video. And nobody, I mean, if you talk to the people that survived that thing, they try not to get into the politics side of it, but the way they tell the story on how shit went down over there, it basically damns the people that didn't send help in. We had all the assets right there, and they were all dying to go in and help. They're just like, we can hear all this shit going down on the radio.
Yeah,
but we're being told left and right, stand down. Nobody's going in.
It's like
we could have been there in 15 minutes.
It's like the same thing that happened on a certain January date near the Capitol.
Yeah,
but
like I say, I mean, hopefully, we will see with Kash Patel. I would hope that our Republican leadership in the Senate can get Tulsi in there.
I think
they start being actually transparent and releasing documents so that the American public, I mean, because we pay for all this shit with our taxes. We deserve to know the truth on this stuff.
Let me ask you a question. Did you see them grilling her about Snowden being a traitor? What do conservatives think about that? What do people like you think about that? Do you think Snowden is a traitor?
No,
okay, great.
If our government is doing shit against us, and so just recently, I don't know if you know about this, they renewed. It was an emergency action. They had to renew the Patriot Act.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even due till like sometime this fall to actually hit its sunset or whatever.
Uh-huh.
They made a big stink about it because I think they was worried that Trump was coming in.
Yeah.
And they
So they hurried and
repatriated it.
Dude,
And
they
that's
did
like,
that with Ukraine. They hurried and fucking like.
well, and there's so many people that are like, this should not have ever been a law. It was used on the fear of the American people to get this to be passed anyways. Like, I don't remember. There was like 60 some odd people that signed it without even ever reading it.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
This is how we get bad law.
One of the reasons I became a Ron Paul supporter in the 2012 cycle is because of that stuff. Like he was one of the few people who was like against the Iraq War and against the Patriot Act and stuff.
Well, look how far in debt this country has gone since 2001.
We're being robbed.
We've been in wars forever.
We're literally being robbed. Like the pandemic to me was like the new fucking American robbery. Like how do we rob these people even more through the fucking government, the levers of government or whatever? Like this time instead of the military industrial complex is the pharmaceutical.
And
companies.
that's the thing. I'm a capitalist.
Me too.
Anybody that's legally going to make money off of free trade should do it. And if they make billions of dollars doing it,
good for them.
Awesome. That's true capitalism. This crony capitalism that's been going on for way too long is what pisses me off. And that's what screws us hardworking people from getting anywhere, because we got to keep paying for it that we never get anything back for our bang.
And that's why when you see them, these status quo agents of the status quo pushing back so hard on people like RFK and Tulsi, you're like, these are the right people.
They're going to hurt their bottom line on screwing everybody else.
Yep. Because it's like you said, I'm not against pharmaceutical companies making money. I'm not against McDonald's fucking selling fries.
That's the whole purpose of having a business, is to make money.
But you don't get to fucking use the levers
of the problems and then giving the solution to the problem.
That's
to
a little
double
out of
your
control.
profits. That's crony.
And all these companies exist on government subsidies too. That's like one of the things that Kennedy said that really. Well, I don't know if it was even Kennedy. It might have been. Have you seen what are their names? The Means twins, Callie and Casey Means. Like they've been doing a lot of shows on the Maha thing. But they were basically saying the reason we have all this food, this like high fructose corn syrup and fucking like seed oils, like vegetable oils, is because the government subsidizes corn. So the fucking it might have been actually Dr. Berg who was talking about this, but like you can get like 2 metric tons of corn for like $200, and it's called like seed corn or like but it has no nutritional value whatsoever. And it's like what most of our food is made with. But RFK was saying if you switch those subsidies from that to like healthy, like organic crops and like grass-fed beef, that will change the fucking dynamic completely, because then everyone will start growing that because they're getting money from the government to do that,
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, like I say, I deal with a lot of farmers and ranchers and stuff here in Utah, but I'm pretty sure the same across the board. They are still under control by the people they sell their products to.
Mm-hmm.
So your big ag and your big, the meat packing places or whatever, they essentially dictate the market on what our farmers and ranchers make on this stuff.
Okay.
So they're going to basically lowball them every damn time because that increases their profits. The way you fight back against that, and we're starting to see a lot of that going on here in Utah, is some guys with some money and stuff have all pulled together to do these their own meat packing place. So locally, farmers and ranchers can bring their cattle there to have it processed and sell it here locally, versus having to go through the 4 big meat packing companies that control the whole entire market. And if every state starts doing that, it takes that power away from them, which I think 3 of the 4 are owned by foreign entities to begin with. So they could really care less that we prosper.
They're owned by foreign countries or foreign companies.
One of them's owned by India, and like 2 other ones are owned by Chinese interests.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
and
honestly, too,
farmland that foreign countries own here in America also is a big concern.
Because it's owned. See, and again,
because if they can control where that food goes, where that money comes in from, and the prices of it, it screws our farmers here and our ranchers.
Yeah.
And it's basically like crony capitalism. If they own three of the four big meat packing companies, and they kind of dictate what the prices are for these farmers to get at them, which is barely scraping by, and then they market it up, so they still make their money with minimal investment into it. It's all on the farmer and the rancher.
Well, what you described there too with the local like processing of the local farm, I feel like that's the way consumers are going anyway. Cause like for me personally, it's like I will only buy like grass fed, like locally farmed beef or whatever, because that's like the best quality. That way it doesn't have a bunch of hormones and garbage in it.
Yeah. Well,
know
and
what I
for
mean?
right now, it will cost more because it's actually going to the local businesses and
Yeah, that's
ranchers and
fine.
farmers
That's fine. I'll pay a
instead
little
of to
more.
a foreign government.
Yeah, I'll pay a little more for that. I'll pay for that. And that's the thing. That's the adjustment we're going to have to go through because they're going to have to do some shocking things to like bring a manufacturing and like stuff home because
Yeah.
we're so globalized. And like, I'm not even against globalization, but it's like, I do think
It's
there's
going to happen. But if we outsource everything and we're just an import country,
yeah,
it eventually, guess what happens? Like right now, it's kind of a little on edge, I think, because if China decides, all right, we're going to play this game, let's cut off all of the pharmaceutical stuff that we make, that we import now.
Yeah.
That'll
Man.
hit like instantly.
So you just got me thinking about the tariffs thing too, because it's like with Canada, people are mad about these Canada tariffs. I'm like, Canada makes cars, right? Like a bunch of companies will go put their plants in Canada and then ship their cars here. Well, if there's fucking
All three
tariffs on
big
their cars,
manufacturers do. GM, Ford,
yeah,
Chrysler.
if there's fucking
Mexico,
tariffs on
yeah.
their Canadian plants now, they're incentivized to come back to the United States to fucking Detroit. And this
Yeah.
Trump is one of the
When
people
they
who
moved out of Detroit, it destroyed that city.
destroyed. Fuck yeah. And see, this is the type of shit like I was talking about earlier with the populism thing, where conservatives and lefties are like 100% on the same page. Like it's working class shit. This ain't like, this is a class issue. This ain't left, right. This is like fucking, we like as a country, we want robust economies and people to have jobs.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like
workers to be protected.
We're a very giving country. I mean, but when you can't support your own family, you have a really hard time supporting somebody else's.
Look around, man. Yeah.
It's like if we're doing okay here, we can get stuff turned around here in America and more people are doing better for themselves. We can start taking care of other countries to an extent.
Yeah.
But as far as, we always want to, we got all these workers, we need to keep them here for this and that. It's like, well, are we doing just us a favor, or are we doing that country a favor or a disfavor? Because if we're taking all their workers and, we're looking for the brightest and best, then we're kind of screwing that country out of those people helping that country lift itself up.
Sure.
To our advantage. So, I mean, there's kind of got to be a give and take, I think.
Yeah.
And some growing pains either end of that, aisle.
And this is the thing, man. This is the thing too. We will always have the appeal of being the United States. So like a lot of the best people from other countries are going to want to come here anyway. And if they fucking qualify and all that shit, yeah, we can I think
I get
too,
it. If those people want to come here, then yeah, there needs to be a thing to come here.
And they can come legally.
But maybe it helps force some of these countries if we're not just giving those governments money, which I would probably say a high percentage of that money never goes to the people it's supposed to be going to.
Oh yeah.
These aid packages go to these people, but their people are still starving, but yet the governmental people up higher up the ladder live in these palaces, and got all these people taking care of them all the time. I mean, if you really dig into a lot of these countries we give aid to, it's not helping anybody but the people that work in the government.
No, it usually goes to like the rich fucking military people and oligarchs that are there. Like what's going on in Ukraine.
Yep.
Well, it's funny too, because with all this stuff, again, it's like it's a long time coming. And I like the immigration thing is interesting because like this is something that's been a blue collar thing for a long time, but and I will say this too before I get into this. there was for a long time, people were like, oh, MAGA's fucking stupid and blah, blah, blah. I have found that like the Trump supporters and the MAGA people are a lot more, first of all, intelligent politically, like they know their shit a lot more than liberals do, but they're also like more open-minded to hear like other ideas and shit. But
well, and that's me. I hate trying to say, oh, one side's absolutely correct and the other side's absolutely wrong, because like I say, a lot of the times I have pretty strong beliefs in certain things, but if something really compelling comes up and I'm like, oh, I didn't see this angle of this or whatever, okay, I'm gonna start leaning a little bit more this other way. I'm not just gonna say, nope, you're wrong, you're dumb, you're whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of them crazy liberals start calling somebody that doesn't agree with what they're saying. Yeah.
You bigot. Yeah.
So.
Well, with the immigration thing too, I realized the other day, because it hit me as the H-1B visa debate. The reason I brought up the MAGA being open-minded is like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy were kind of like insulting American culture. And like, not that like they're not right in some degree, like Vivek was saying how like American culture is degenerated and it doesn't value intelligence and like consistency anymore. And he's right to a certain degree, but also like the H-1B visa debate got opened up, and it was kind of like one of those things, and that affects someone like me who was in the tech world, who I literally had a recruiter tell me the other day that, because I was like, I got laid off from my job in 2022, and she said flat out, a lot of companies in 2022 post-COVID fired a bunch of their American workforce and hired immigrants because they could get them remote for way cheaper than they could get Americans. And so like this thing is starting to affect even people that aren't just blue collar, who work like people who work in construction or fucking like jobs like, a lot of like farm working and stuff like that. It's like they've been affected by the immigration issue for a long time, but now it's affecting the tech world and like the white collar business world too.
Well, and that's what I kind of have a fear with the AI stuff. I mean, everybody always kinds of adapts eventually, but if AI really grows and learns and does everything everybody claims it's going to do, a lot of these tech jobs I don't think are going to exist, at least not in the form we currently know them as.
I mean, it's already happening, and not just tech jobs. I mean, jobs like Uber driver and truck driver are going to go away. Like they already have. Have you seen the Waymos, the self-driving cars?
Oh yeah.
They have, like,
yeah. So Uber. I mean, and realistically, conspiratorially, I guess you could say, the government would love nothing more than you to just be under control of some computerized driving machine and not have the freedom of just going in, starting it up, and just in your head, I'm going to go here.
Yeah, I don't like that. I do not like that. That is dystopian as fuck to me.
And I think AI and this technology is great, but on the other end of it, I mean, everybody's worried that AI is going to take over and, be like the apocalypse of Skynet, but it's like,
I think
our AI is only going to be as good as the information we let it know.
Yeah. Also, AI is us. Like all AI is our collective consciousness, like our collective knowledge.
Because I see some of these guys that have worked for Google and stuff, and they're all freaked out that it just started doing this stuff by itself. It's like, well, it's because that's what you programmed it to do.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you afraid of it?
Also, what is
responding back to you into a coherent sentence? It's you programmed it to do that.
Someone was like, what if the AI gets out of control? And I was like, I don't know, unplug it.
Yeah.
Like
what if it finds a back door and learns how to hide out? It's like,
yeah, it doesn't have a body. Like it's still our controlled creation. Like I don't understand how something you created could get to the point. I mean, I guess there is precedent for this, but like, how does something you create get to the point where you can't control it anymore? How does something you create like outperform you? Like,
well,
I guess
that's what a lot of children tech people have been saying is like, oh, if it takes over, it'll be able to do this and that. And it's like, okay, yeah, it could, like if we give it authority, I guess, to efficiently run our grids, our power grid, something like that. And I seen like this thing where it's like, well, if it knows that, humans are inherently horrible, have done all these horrible things like the nuclear bomb, and we killed all these people. And then they ask these AI robots, it's like, what do you think the solution is to humans on Earth and whatever? And it's like, oh, we need to kill you. And like, oh my God, it's Terminator. It's like, well, no, because you left out all the good things that humans have done throughout history. So it's just analyzing
also
the data you've put in there and coming to a conclusion because you've got more bad shit that humans have done than the equally good stuff humans have done. So
And
it just
also
calculates saying humans are horrible.
Humans created you, motherfucker. Like you wouldn't exist. I brought you into this. Like my mom used to say, I brought you into this world. I'll take you out of it.
Yeah. Well, and and it's people too are also hyping up the scare of artificial general intelligence, and it's computing faster and faster, and they start talking about quantum mechanics and different shit, and it's like, if you don't have the wrong people over it, I think it'll be fine. It's like it right now. There's no different than some jerkwad at Facebook putting in an algorithm saying, "Oh, this person said this and it really offends me." So I programmed it to flag everybody that has retard in their post.
Dude, I got thrown off the dating apps for making a joke that was bigoted. So like I'm literally banned.
People don't have a sense of humor anymore.
Right. Yeah. Totally. And I'm not a hateful person. I'm like that's the thing too, is it's like people should be able to take a joke. I can make fun of myself. I was making fun of how like if I shave my beard off, I look like a baby bird, because with my bald ass head, like I have a whole joke about white guys and how they look sick when they shave their head. But
no, and that's the thing. It's like, throughout my, I don't know, more adult years, I guess, it's like if me and my friends couldn't make fun of each other and get made fun of and just have a good time with it, you probably weren't one of our friends. You weren't going to last in our friend group very long.
Totally. That's what there's this
and I've told people that before. I was like, hey, don't take it personal if I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
It's because I actually like you if I'm teasing you. If I'm stop teasing you, then there's a problem.
There's a quote that I love with this. It was like something along, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but it was like, guys will like find their friends like biggest weakness and just pick at it and make fun of them for it. And they don't really mean it. And it's like, and girls will compliment each other and be like, you go, sister. And they don't really mean it either.
Yeah, they're just trying to be peaceful with each other. They'd probably rather scratch each other's eyes out.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's funny because there's been this revival of comedy, because comedy is like the new punk rock. Like saying shit that offends people is like,
because for a while it was like comedians were, essentially trying to be canceled by places. A lot of it, unfortunately, was college kids.
Yeah, don't fucking tell me what I can and can't say, motherfucker.
Well, and that's what I thought was so great about Dave Chappelle is he just said, you know what? You can't fucking cancel me.
Nope.
And you know what? And people that enjoy comedy and stuff said, you know what? He's right.
All the greats, man. George Carlin was a liberal. You know what I mean? It's like you look at George Carlin, like he would be fucking punching liberals in the face if he were alive today, like just left and right.
Yeah.
Fool.
Yeah, he had such a unique form of comedy.
He just challenged the status quo. That's like Bill Hicks, all the best comedy does. Like Dave Chappelle, one of the greatest of all time for sure. Like his.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my wife still doesn't understand why I'll just die laughing watching, especially some of his old Chappelle show stuff.
But even his new stuff, he had this.
His new stuff's good because it's his new stuff's so good because he's matured and he's got that older
statesman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he gets you wrapped up into his story, and then hits you with the punchline. It's like, oh shit.
It's wild when you revisit 90s shows too, like how unwoke things were. Like, dude, I was just watching a clip of Al Bundy on Living Color. Have you seen this?
I haven't seen that one.
It's like he's the king of the roast battle. They play this game. I forget what they call it, but it's like where you make your mama jokes. It's like a black people thing where they're like, you make your mama jokes.
Yeah.
And so they like these literally 4 black women in bikinis carry Al Bundy out. I'll send it to you. It was on a fucking throne. and he's debating Jamie Foxx. Like they're doing like your mama jokes against each other. He's like, your mama's so fat that, you know, and it's just like, I'm like, holy shit, that was like in the 90s. Like they would get in so much trouble, or they wouldn't even consider like having 4 beautiful black women carrying Al Bundy on a throne. It's like, oh my God, that's like, you know, reference to slavery or something. Like, oh, it's scary. No, it's not really. It's just funny. It's just lighthearted.
Well, and it's sad too that there's still people, like especially in the black community, that are, I think, just exploiting the black community that are in Congress.
They know it. Most black people know it. Dude, that's the thing that's cool about this election, man, is so many people. I had this guy, I talked to this guy who's a black guy who he's like, I won't even allude to who he is, but he told me flat out, he goes, man, it made me so mad when Joe Biden said, like, you're not black if you don't vote for Democrats. Like, he's like, that is like, the Democrats just think that they own like black people, and they
own the black vote.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, you started seeing a lot of that when people are going out and interviewing, you know, just people on the street saying, hey, you know, what do you think about so-and-so said this, you know, and there's like, you know, the only time we ever see them is every 4 years when they want us to vote for their shit. It's like, people are starting to get it.
Like I said about the Latin woman who her husband, like, in her almost bankrupt from health issue, and the hospital's like, oh, it's too bad you guys aren't illegal. We'd have all kinds of free shit for, you know, it's like that radicalizes people. But also it's like, dude, for the Democrats, they have been shitting on people like me. I was thinking about this today. I'm like, dude, white men have been like demonized. Like, and I'm not like, you know, crying a river or whatever. Like it's not like, you know, I'm losing any sleep, or like I've had a super rough life, worse than like people who are real disaffected people. But like the Democrats are just like white men are misogynist pieces of shit. And remember when Bernie Sanders was a thing, and it was like fucking like, oh, Bernie bros, and they're so mean and fucking misogynist. And it's like, dude, how long can you shit on a group of people like the left or just like white males and think they're still going to vote for you? Like you just, and the same thing with black people and Hispanic people, just like take them for granted. I think the only demographic Democrats won in the last election was rich people.
Oh, I need to send this to you if I can. There's
put it in the chat. There's on the sidebar. If you go to the sidebar, there's a private chat. I don't know if you saw it.
I don't know if I can get it over there. I'm not that technically savvy.
Well, if you copy and paste it on the
side.
It
was the Democrat National Convention nominations. Did you see any of that?
Yep. So that's what all my podcasts are talking about today, because they got like a really pro-Israel guy.
Well, so they had that David Hogue kid on there.
Oh, really?
So he got elected to like vice chair or something like that. But there was like these, you know, they're still thinking that the woke and the DNI stuff is what their base is. So they had, I don't remember who it was. This black lady stands up and she said, I'm talking, everybody pay, I'm talking. I'm like, wow. I was like, these people like still think they're important, but they're using either their skin color or their gender, whatever, as their ammo. Yeah, it's like if that's what the Democrat Party is going to base their politics off of, they're going to lose until they decide that it's just not worth the money they're investing in it at this point.
It's like weaponizing a protected status.
Protected class.
I drove this guy the other day who was like, I won't say much about him except that I'm pretty sure he was pretending to be blind. Like he was like, I'm blind, and he had a cane and everything.
He's
and I'm like,
transabled.
You're not fucking blind. Like you're just pretending to be blind so people have to fucking cater to you.
You wandered into the woman's bathroom and I got lost.
He was such a kind of a dude. Like he was like one of those people though that wasn't like mean. Like he was like really nice, but like a cunt. Like he knew he had to be nice to like get what he wanted. But I'm like, I was like, man, I don't ever want to see that person again. Like that guy really bothered me. Like he's like,
you get the vibe from people.
Yeah, he was like weaponizing like like really like it's terrible for handicapped people that he's like using that as like a way to like get fucking special treatment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, man. There's a special place in hell for me. And maybe he's not. Maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm the dick, you know, like that's definitely possible. And, you know, more than likely probably the case, but
No, there's just people that abuse the system.
Yeah.
I've seen this happen way too much times. Is they use emotions to their advantage.
Yeah, of course.
And then especially political situations. I mean, you see all this all the time with these totally whack job dudes trying to claim they're trans just so they can go in and use the bathroom, and then they just go on some big complete tirade. If anybody says, no, look, my daughter's in there, you're not going in that bathroom. I'm trans, I can use this bathroom. And it's like, you're abusing this system.
I think that stuff too, though, is just hyped to like make it divide us. I think.
Well, I
people
think
don't really care. Like
the mental disorder that we've had going on for a long time because we've totally neglected mental health for ever. Nobody wants to touch it.
I definitely think there's a lot of truth to that. I can definitely agree with that too.
And it's not just on the trans thing. It's like you said. Maybe some of these people are on some of those medications that transition them over, but it totally whacks them out.
I mean,
I don't know.
That I think like is a big factor, and I hope that like with RFK coming in, like he's really going to blow the lid off this type of stuff. But I really do feel like our chemistry has been manipulated by so many things over the last several years, by not only like poison in the food supply, but poison in the water, fluoride. Like there's so many things that are like our entire physical construct has been manipulated. Like remember when Alex Jones saying the frogs were turning gay or whatever was like a meme, but then it turns out he was like kind of right. Like they were actually putting some kind of chemical that was like making the frogs asexual.
Yeah. And I mean, on animals, I think it's a lot easier to do it on them quicker because their systems, I think, can adapt faster than human systems. You see this over time. Everybody wants to call it whatever they want to call it, but it's like it's an adaptation. It's not one animal changing into another one per se. It's they adapt to their environment way quicker because that's the only way animals survive.
Yeah, that's evolution.
They have to. Yeah. Well, it's still not the typical evolution people try and claim.
It's natural. It's called natural selection. It's like
that, but you know how people like say, "Oh, we came from apes" or whatever. We've never came from apes. There's no because an ape has a close genome to ours. That's where they've kind of they finally are starting to back off that whole thing that people came from apes type deal.
Dude, that's proven fucking fact. Like there's no doubt about that at all. Like really.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So over what we're always taught is, these creatures changed somehow into this other creature through this stuff, but it's really not. It's the same creature. It just adapted to its new environment.
Right.
And
that's
animals
evolution.
do that way quicker.
Yeah, of course. That is literally.
I mean,
evolution.
we now are starting to grow more hair on our backs than we used to ever do. It's like we're changing, but it's a lot slower pace.
But also, again, it's like that fucking chemical shit affects how we develop. But like it's like with evolutionary stuff, like dogs, for example, like all dogs came from a wolf. But look at all the different types of dogs there are. You know what I mean? Like from Chihuahuas to pit bulls to fucking everything in between, bulldogs and pugs.
But what I'm saying is the way they try and say evolution happened is by one creature turning into another, and you can't crossbreed a dog with a cat.
No, it's not that simple, man. Evolution happens over millions and millions of years. Like people, like initially on the planet, there was no life. There was just like single-celled amoebas, and it fucking like can't. You know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot of, and I'm not claiming to have all the knowledge on this, but like there's the whole like natural selection thing to me is funny because they're like species go extinct, or creationism, like, oh, God made everything perfect and clear. I'm not even saying that God isn't real, but like evolution is real too. You know what I mean? Like it could be part of God's plan, but it's
that's what I mean though. But evolution didn't happen like we've been taught it happened. I don't think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think some
it's
people
more of an adaptation that these animals, because like I say, animals will adapt to their environment way faster than we do. So
but I'm just saying
that environment changed though, that dinosaurs were killed off for the most part and the ones of them that survived had to adapt now to that changed environment on Earth.
Yeah.
And they'll do it way faster. Like a pig right now. You think of, Weber or whatever that pig's name was. A pig, they did some quick studies on those, and then within 2 weeks, a pig that you'd see at a farm, once
If
it
you
gets
let it
out
in the wild, it
in
gets
2
like the
weeks,
tusks
it's
and
starting to
shit.
grow tusks, it starts to grow hair, it goes
Totally.
feral.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say is animals will
Well,
adapt to their
Right.
environment.
But that's
so
literally
fast.
evolution, though. But also, animals have shorter lifespans, so they do adapt quicker. Because like a dog's lifespan is like what, like a quarter of a human's or something like that, or like
a fraction, yeah.
But
what I'm
anyway,
saying though is
no,
you can't have the way Darwin and everybody tried to explain though that how it happened isn't correct.
No, it totally is. It's like you just described it. Like people, it's natural selection, man. Like some species adapt to their environment and live on, and others don't and die off. That's why there's no more dodo birds. That's why there's certain species that go extinct.
Well, and some species though that we have thought were extinct, people are starting to see now, because there's just such a small number in existence that we don't see them like we used to. They might be out in the Amazon forest or whatever. They're still surviving.
Like adapting to your environment is literally what evolution is all I'm saying. Like that's that's Darwinism. That is what Darwinism fucking profess. Like that's like.
Well, I thought okay, so maybe I misunderstood it then, because I thought the way he was trying to explain it is that a fish turned into a bird or a bird turned into a lizard type thing.
No. It's a process that happens over many. But here's the thing: this is a good thing to talk about, because I feel like this is the thing that bothers me about this kind of shit is like it gets weaponized. It gets turned into like you're either in this camp or you're in this camp, where it's like if you believe in evolution, you don't believe in God, and if you believe in creationism, you don't believe in evolution. Like I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. Like in the Bible, it says, God created the world in 7 days or whatever. God is a being that doesn't live inside human time constructs. So 7 days to God could be 7 billion years. You know what I mean? And so it's like that kind of shit.
I think we rely too much on science as its fact. I mean, I think about this like we know that on this planet up here is like, well, have you been there? I mean, how do you know?
So
you're taking guesses and saying it's fact,
right? And I don't disagree at all. But like evolutionary theory it's not just because people call it theory. Like there's literally proof behind all of it, and that's what I value. Like there is stuff like you can't prove that God exists, but you also can't prove that God doesn't exist, right? So it's but with evolution, it's like you can see like over the years how certain species have adapted, and that's all evolution really is. And I think that it's been like demonized to Christians or people that are more of a religious mindset to say, because I found this with my mom. Like I would get into because my mom's like, oh, well, I'm like, Mom, evolution is proven, it's real, but it doesn't mean that God isn't real too. Like it's like those things aren't mutually exclusive. Like evolution could be part of God's plan. Like I don't know that God isn't real. I've never died. I'm not saying that I know that. But
and that's the thing. It's like I see both sides of the argument too. I hear, well, maybe God created the universe in an old state, or the earth is an old state. But I mean, if you believe in an all-powerful God, then yeah, that's probably true.
I mean,
but at the same time, like you just said, God's not construed to our time limits.
Right. If God exists, it's not a human. So like time is meaningless to God. Like it doesn't.
Yeah. So it's like
time is a human thing.
Yeah. It's for us to just say, oh, he created everything in 7 days, It's like,
right.
Okay. So is that just us trying to put it into logic that we can understand? Because if I follow a couple different pages that and just like Graham Hancock, and they're uncovering ancient civilizations.
Oh yeah.
That we know nothing about. So it's almost rewriting history. But then even the pushback he gets on trying to say, why aren't we asking these questions, to try and figure out what these people are or who they were.
What you're touching on right here is the difference between science and religion, because science is always questioning itself. Like religion is like,
well,
this is how it is,
but
believe
it's
this.
been politicized though. Science is
no,
settled.
yeah. You're right. You're totally right. Like with
it's like, how is science settled? It should be changing with its new
science
facts.
is never settled. Science is never settled.
Yeah.
Like in the 70s, you used to be able to make an argument that there wasn't proof of evolution because they didn't have like the missing link. But over the last like 30 years, they've uncovered fossil record that like totally shows the progression of different species through time.
Well, yeah, and even species now that they're finding in the permafrost.
Oh yeah,
in Russia and Alaska and different places that nobody even knew existed. And then like there's that what the heck's that guy's name? He was a big miner up in Alaska, and he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's got millions of bones that they quit mining gold and mine dinosaur bones essentially.
Oh wow!
And a lot of them are like those steppe bisons,
the mammoths,
and a lot of mammoth stuffs. But all of these, for some reason, are in this big quarter-mile section of his property that because they use one of those water monitors and just kind of blast the ground out and was extracting gold that way. And then they started finding these mammoth tusks and then these steppe bisons and like thousands of them all in this one little area.
That's crazy. I don't think I've seen this guy. I wish you knew his name. I might have to watch that.
I could probably look it up. He has a show, something, The Gold Father or something like that, I think.
Okay. Yeah, see, that kind of stuff is interesting to me because I used to be one of those people who was like, no, dude, like God's not real science. You know what I mean? And it's like, as I've gotten older, I understand, like, I'm not religious, but I'm also not like, I don't not believe in God. I think there is validity, like however you describe God or whatever, like that force is.
Well, I think religiously, why? I mean, I think religions themselves use the religion as a weapon,
totally,
and power. You know, you see that throughout history. I mean, everything's been written down. I mean, whether or not you want to say, "Oh, it was written by man," it's a bunch of bullcrap. But it's like it's kind of a history book.
It's a good way to control people too.
Oh yeah,
yeah. It's just like a cult is,
when Christianity first came to be, the king, Henry V or something like that, organized religion, and who had most power back in those days?
It was Rome that actually made Christianity like a thing, and then the British took it from the Roman Empire because it was Constantine who fucking made, like, Constantine basically took, like, the reason Christmas and Easter are on like the like equinoxes is because Constantine took the pagan holidays that were based on like natural cycles, right? Like the equinoxes, and layered the Christian holidays on top of them. So that's why, like, with Easter, there's like bunnies and eggs, even though it's supposed to be about the crucifixion and the resurrection. But the bunnies and eggs represent like the rebirth of the spring, right? Like and that's what the pagan side of the holiday. So,
but even if you look back through history, though, of like the people high up in the church, how much power they had.
Oh, totally, yeah.
In a way, the religion aspect of it is kind of what's made it look bad.
Yeah,
because I mean, you can say, yeah, religion, have killed a bunch of people, but it's like, that's true. But that's between all of the religions and them using the religion to persuade enough people on their side of the aisle to do bad shit.
Religion and politics are undeniably intertwined.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot. Yeah. It's unfortunately for a lot of us, but honestly, man, one of the great things about the United States, or the founding principles of the United States, was to kind of detangle those two things and say, hey, look, these are two separate things. Like, you can believe in God and everything, but like, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. I have that one memorized.
Yeah. Well, it's like
my favorite
freedom of religion, not freedom from religion.
Well,
and
that too, though. Freedom from religion and of religion. Like, you don't have to be religious. You're free to not be religious. Like, that's what I am. I'm not religious.
Well, and that's what I find so funny, though, is it's the people that claim to be like atheists and non-religious want to say, no, you can't do this and this with your religion because I don't believe in it. It's like,
because it offends me.
Yeah. Separation from state and religion. It's like, well, you're essentially doing the same thing, just on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, there's this quote that I like. It's like, religion is like a penis. Like, it's great to have one, but like you should keep it to yourself and like in your own home, like only pull it out in your house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I because honestly, like not everyone's gonna agree on that, or like, but I think more so now. I think honestly, people are a lot more open minded. But like, yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like it's great that you have religion, but it like shouldn't be. But also, by the same token, I feel like I understand why it should guide. There's some people that really need it, and it should guide. It has done a lot of good things for the world, despite like the wars and the political stuff too. You know, I'm not
Well, and
anti-religious.
that's kind of when it goes awry, though. You know, in the
Yeah, that's human nature, though. It's like we said before.
I mean,
It's like
you look through history. You know, people always trying to say whatever's going on. You know, in the recent history that's just what it is. But it's like this stuff that you're claiming has only happened in this small little window of human existence has happened throughout the entirety of humans on this planet.
yeah,
But you're trying to politicize it into saying, oh, slavery only happened in America. It's like slavery was going on in the whole entire world. And if you want to look at the real history of it and quit trying to use your skin color to your advantage to trick people in that maybe don't know the real history of how slavery came to be, the kings of those African countries actually are the ones that put them out on the beaches for other black slave traders to come and pick up.
Oh,
It's
there was like
but it's the white man's fault.
There's
The
a whole thing
1%
about
of white settlers that used them to pick cotton and whatever else.
well, and honestly, man, that like how we got here is how we got here. Let's move on and do better.
Right.
Like
That should be the focus, but they can't help themselves.
one of my best, a good friend of mine who is black, he said this like, you know, because I had like the white liberal guilt, and he was like, bro, if it weren't for slavery, I wouldn't be here. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. Like,
yeah, I mean, a lot of black people wouldn't be here, but a lot of black people are here that never were part of any family history that were slaves.
Yeah.
But they want to use it because their skin color's black. Oh, my ancestors, you know, and it's like, your ancestors are probably still in Africa.
Dude,
you immigrated over here.
in New Mexico, there's a very large Native American population, and there's definitely a similar dynamic.
They got a lot. Isn't Navajo down there?
There's all kinds. There's all kinds. I think there are some Navajo, but there's like 3 or 4 like pretty big reservations like on the outskirts of Albuquerque and stuff that are.
Yeah.
And it's like it's cool. It's like I think they should have they should be protected, and they should have a section of land that, you know, they can call theirs and whatever. Like,
yeah, and the crappy. I'm kind of conflicted with that whole thing too. On every other country we're the only country that's done that. Like conquered a nation and said, hey, you know, we feel bad.
We're sorry.
We're going to leave you some stuff, and then we're just going to give you free money because we invaded and took over. No other country in the world has done that.
It's true. It's true.
We've also created more harm by doing some of those things to the native tribes than what we're actually helping them. Like,
well, and someone, I don't know how true this is, so I don't want to like push any buttons or cause any problems, but like someone was telling me too about how they're like heavily inbreeding those tribes because they want to keep their bloodlines pure or whatever. And I'm like, can you imagine if like white people doing that would be super racist, and it is, but it's also genetically degenerative.
Yeah.
Like in a dog community, if you breed like the purebred dogs that have the same, they're all like genetically inferior.
Yeah, they
dogs.
have way big genetic problems, and it's no different for humans. I mean, if you go back into those small communities that live on the river and have no education.
Yep, the Virginia fucking rednecks. Yes.
Yeah, those places. I mean, you can physically see it.
Same thing. Yep.
We weren't designed to not expand.
Yep.
You know, if you stay in that same gene pool, that gene pool just keeps going worse and worse.
Yep. 1,000%. Well, dude, we've been on for almost 3 hours now. We should probably start winding down.
Yeah, I agree. We got through quite a bit of stuff.
This has been a good conversation though, man, because again, it's cool that to me, like you and I have talked politics for years. You know, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's cool that like I feel like I'm optimistic about the future. Also, like I said, this election made me really optimistic. I didn't vote. I didn't even vote this time. But I said before the election, you know what? I'll be happy if Trump wins because it will tell me that America is way smarter. Like they see through all this bullshit, and he won like by a pretty huge margin. So
Well,
they
and
need,
so what kind of irritated me too with the whole Mark Zuckerberg thing coming out and saying, "Oh, we're going to be transparent and we're getting rid of the fact
fuck you,
checkers and
dude.
stuff." It's like,
Yeah,
dude, you were sitting there saying we shouldn't
yeah.
be doing this to and change the outcome of the elections, but you were doing it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's it's easy to fucking like say you were wrong after the fact. Like the real people who like stood up to that fucking authoritarian shit lost jobs and lost
Oh
their
yeah.
fucking livelihoods and were demonized as fucking like evil people and stuff like that. Holy shit, man. Like, and it's still in there. Like I said, I tried to post a thing about Elizabeth Warren with a snake emoji the other day, and Instagram's like, nope, like undo, like this is not a good comment.
Yeah. Well, they've still, I'm sure, got so, and that was one good thing. If Elon did it with Twitter and now X, then essentially Zuckerberg's got to take that same principle to his company. He needs to go in there and just start axing the people out of there that say, hey, if you're not here on board with the free speech thing, whether or not you like what somebody's saying or not, unless it's something illegal,
Yeah.
it should be allowed on the platform. But
Well, and
he's got to have the will, being the owner and the main investor in the company. He's got to have the balls to go in and do that. It's not up to them just, well, we're just going to weed ourselves out. That's not going to happen.
Well, he did put Dana White on the board, which is
So I
pretty
mean,
good, but that doesn't
talk to the right people. But yeah, like you say, until your stupid little thing with a snake on it with Elizabeth Warren gets out of there,
right.
there could still be deep state people just like there were at Twitter.
There are at Twitter. They're like Twitter's not perfect. Like the big question at Twitter is Israel. But to be fair, again, to Elon, most of the like footage I've seen that Israel doesn't like has been on Twitter. Because TikTok fucking they're like that I think that's one of the big reasons like the TikTok ban happened, and it has nothing to do with China. I think the two biggest reasons were the ADL was like, fuck you, stop showing videos we don't want you to. And the second reason is TikTok was taking ad money from.
Well, and that's the thing. I think the more we get into actual freedom of speech and get more speech out there and not take off people saying stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'll eventually sort itself out and
And
people will start seeing, hey, you got to have, somebody's got to speak to power.
It's honestly like people are like, oh, what if people say racist things or they're Nazis? Let them say it, dude.
It's like, because then you can go, oh, okay, we see who these people are.
Exactly.
Over here talking this stupid shit.
But also, like, you can debate it. It's like, man, it's such a dumb position to have today. We just talked about how genetically inferior dogs are when they interbreed. It's the same thing with humans. Like, why wouldn't you have a diverse population and like, all that kind of, anyway, fucking.
Yeah.
I could go on for hours.
That could be a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. We've already been going for a while. But honestly, this is cool. And we've had like a pretty decent sized audience the whole time. Man, we had like 20, 23 people, 20. It's across Rumble, Twitter, and YouTube. So
well, and all I can say is, people, if they open up their minds and just think about stuff, because for so long now we've been told what to think instead of how to think. If we start reversing that and have dialogue like this, I mean, we can disagree on different things, and I'm not going to go cry like a baby and turn it off, and not have the conversation, because that doesn't get us anywhere. So the people that are just turning it off and ignoring the conversation are the ones that need to start waking up. And I want the best for everybody.
Yeah.
But we can't do that if we're not having free speech and being able to talk about it openly.
Oh, 1,000%. And it's comforting again for me. Like I'll keep saying this. Like I'm very optimistic because the fact that like you and I who have these different views, but we're like, we see,
we kind of still want the same things. We just don't maybe agree on how we get there.
Right. But even then it's like, that's how it should be. And like, we shouldn't agree on everything all the time. And those different perspectives, eventually, we can get down to the core of like, hey, this is the result we want, but like, what's the best way to get to that? Maybe we try something that and see if it works. And if it doesn't, we shift gears to something else. And,
right. Well, and that's something that both sides have got to understand too. It's like, look, if let's maybe try it. I don't think it's a great idea. Let's try it. If in 6 months or something, it doesn't look like anything's improving, let's scrap that. We'll try this other way. And then if that maybe slightly improves. Maybe we can both come together and find something that makes this that's slightly a little better get better.
Well, and I want to get away from that paradigm of both sides altogether. Like there shouldn't be two sides. There should be like 20 sides. You know what I mean? And the best one wins every time.
Well,
It's like,
and that's the thing. It's like if everybody would just listen to everybody else instead of just instantly going to calling names and stuff like that, because that just kind of shuts people down. And you don't have a conversation. It just turns into a pissing match.
and ask questions too. Like again, it's like
why do you think that way? You know,
Right.
like why? Okay, I'm just trying to understand, but why do you think that way? You know, and then you might be able to dissect it peacefully and not. Okay, I can see a little part of your argument here, and this is why I don't agree with this, because has some facts though. You can't just the media said it's like
Dude,
okay,
and it's crazy. I think all the time about like in the 90s, right? Like all the conservative guys I knew that were like hunter gun types that were like they listened to AM radio with Rush Limbaugh and like everything, like the government's getting overreach and stuff. And I always thought like these people are fucking crazy. And now I'm like, dude, they've been right all along. Holy shit. Like these people have been right all along. They've been on this like, yo, it's getting a little creepy. Dude, even stuff like, and I don't want to go too far down this hole because we should probably stop, but like stuff like the Oklahoma City thing and like Randy Weaver and all that in Waco and all the shit that happened in the 90s. I look back on that and go, holy fuck. Like even back then, Clinton was like white supremacy, like we got to fucking like these, like we got to stop these people thinking for themselves and like wanting to like,
well, and that's the thing, it's that's why you got to have these open dialects and be more transparent, because the ones that are typically saying, "Oh, we want to be fully transparent," usually are hiding shit.
Well,
not all the time,
man,
but a lot of the time.
The dynamic too, if you just look at the trajectory of the last 10 years of like all the worst, like I watched it because I almost voted for Ron Paul in 2012. The libertarian wing of the Republican Party, I've always been a fan of. And then it's like you watched like all the worst Republicans transition into the Democratic Party. Like people are like, Kamala Harris is a communist. And I'm like, really, dude? Do you think Dick Cheney would endorse a communist? Like, I don't think Kamala Harris is a communist. Does she suck? Yes. But like,
she sucks to the right party or the right people that are controlling the same people that, Cheney works for.
Yes. And like the fact that John Bolton and Dick Cheney and fucking, what's the other guy? Like Rick Wilson and all these like scummy people are like Democrats, like who used to be Republican.
Washington.
Yeah. And it's like, and now what's left of the Republican Party, Trump, I think was smart to kind of see like, okay, like there's kind of the carcass of the Republican Party. I can take it and reshape it in my own image. And like, and he has successfully, and it's a more inclusive party. And it's a party that might actually fucking change something, which I've been hoping for a long time.
Well, and that's the thing, I thought originally when Trump got in the first time that he was doing some good policies, maybe not all of them, but when I started seeing the pushback that he was getting, and then just all these crazy indictments and different things like that kept coming down, and it really, that's what really started opening my eyes up to what was really going on in Washington. And then listening to the politicians that were, we need to, get this guy out of here. He's dangerous, and just all the stuff they were starting to say. It's like, just like I said, though, eventually they out themselves if you're paying attention because they can't help themselves.
They overplay their head. The arrogance of
they're
impunity.
Untouchable. Which
the arrogance of
up
impunity.
Till now, they are untouchable.
Yeah.
And it's no different than what I just seen with, Biden's preemptive pardons on all these people. It's like, well, why would they need those pardons if they weren't guilty of anything?
And why would they need them all the way back to 2014?
Unless you were covering something up.
From 2014? Like what was Fauci doing in 2014, guys?
I think before that. Did you ever watch the Plandemic?
Yes. Dude, so that was the point when Facebook started really fucking with me.
Oh, well, so tell me how that lady that actually worked with Fauci, I mean,
she got put in jail. They fucking came after her.
Never charged her with anything. Stole all the files that she had. I mean, she worked with and this has been proven now that Fauci did.
So we gotta be really careful here so we don't get my stream shut off for medical misinformation. But like, So this
just
is for
watch the
entertainment purposes
pandemic.
only.
It explains it all.
Vaccine is safe and effective.
Just take 50 jabs. You're fine.
They call me Jab Man. Come to Jab Mania next week. We're gonna be boosting everybody left and right.
Yeah. No.
Jabble Mania. All right.
I think within another couple weeks we'll have plenty more material to talk about again.
Yeah, no, dude, let's jump on again.
Coming out left and right.
We could. I try to do these. Like I've been doing daily shows now. Like I'll get on in the morning and do like an hour, 90 minutes. Like I call it the almost daily show.
There you go.
Yeah, but then these I like to do these longer form conversations on the weekend. So I used to get up and do like a Sunday morning show every day, but it's like any Sunday that you want to do this, dude, hit me up and let's fucking do it because it's a good conversation. And I like doing it. I do it by myself all the time, but it's much more entertaining for me when there's someone else to talk to banter with and like kind of exchange ideas with. So
no, it's good. Like most time, I think I just talk to myself on my podcast.
it's a good vent. I tell people
that's what I told my wife. I was like, I don't care if anybody listens to my podcast. It's like it's just a way for me to put it down on tape and get it out of my head because there's so much crap going on all the time. I've got to get that out so I can just process the new stuff coming in.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is I tell people, I'm like, I do this so I don't get in fights with my family at like Christmas or something. Cause like I get all this out. Yeah. This is my vent for this. So then I don't talk about it with, cause I used to like get in fight, especially my like more liberal leaning like relatives who are like, Trump is the worst thing ever. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I've had to learn that too. It's like, I could totally destroy you with facts right now, but it's not worth the fight.
Yeah.
Give me another beer.
Right. It's like, dude, I don't want to like cause a scene. I'm not going to name names, but I've had plenty of relatives storm out of my residence in anger.
Yeah. Well, like I say, hopefully, if we can keep conversating about these things, maybe it'll slowly sink in and make some sense.
It has, man. Like I said, I feel like it has. I'm very optimistic. The new media landscape. I saw Trump's new press secretary saying, like, I love that they're doing this. She's like, anyone that wants access, she's like, this is going to be the most open, transparent administration. Anyone that wants access to this press room, go to this website, whitehouse.gov/new media and apply. If you have a big audience, we're going to let you in. I'm like, holy shit. Like any podcaster you and I listen to that has a decent sized audience can go get into a White House press briefing.
Well, and that's how it should have been for
always
a long time, and the legacy media right now is freaking out because they've essentially slit their own throats.
Done. They've been so done for so long. Only boomers take them serious. And even a lot of boomers don't take them serious.
Well, and so just before we cut off of here, so when my mom passed away last summer, I didn't realize how much that I didn't know about her politics side of life. I mean, she was donating to the Biden campaign and
really, she was propagandized.
Oh yeah, hardcore. And I didn't realize. I mean, I knew my mom always watched TV, and I realized this years ago. I was like, people sit there and watch these people, but don't understand that the internet's here, and we can go and find this information out eventually. The media is still saying this, but that was my mom. That's the generation she grew up in. Was the media was telling you what you needed to know.
Well, and here's the other side of it. I watched football. I don't watch a lot of sports, but I was watching football with my cousins like one day on the build up to the election, and just all the propaganda, pro-Democrat propaganda on the NFL. I was like, holy shit. And it's like so subtle. And that's the part of it that people don't see, like late night TV. I did a whole piece on here about late night TV and how late night TV is done because it's just inauthentic garbage. But anyway, no, you're right. Totally. It's the and that sucks. Like, but in your mom's defense, the propaganda is fucking strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and I got it, but I didn't realize, cause she'd put all these notes and stuff on papers about Trump. And I was like, oh shit, that's exactly what the media was saying right there is what she wrote down, cause she wanted to remember it for whatever reason. And I'm like, just going through her stuff and reading all these different articles and stuff. Well, Trump is this and that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty much what the media said. And there's another one down here. That's what the media said. And it's like, oh hell, she was freaking brainwashed.
Yeah. Oh, the absolute, like, and I said this even before the election, I was like, the best thing about Trump winning is going to be all these fuckers eating crow. Like, especially all the people, the celebrities that came out then like you got to vote for Kamala, people. Like
I don't know if
fuck
they
you.
will. Their heads
Well,
are way too big and shoved way too far up in there.
but honestly, like that after Trump won, I was like, yes, it just made me feel so good to see all those people who like so self-important that think that like people care what they think about like. And again, I do a podcast where I talk about politics, so I'm me calling people self-important and ranting about them caring what they think is a little, ironic. But
No,
but again, I'm not claiming that I'm not like you come to this knowing what you're in for, right? Like you come to, like if you're listening to this, it's about politics and that's what I'm talking about. And I don't claim I invite people to prove me wrong all the time or so anyway.
Yeah, I mean I'm always up if there's something I miss. I mean there's a lot of crap out there that I'm maybe not going to get all the information on, so it swayed me in one way or another. But if you've got something, I want to know about it because it could change my mind.
Steve Bannon said it really well the other day. He was like, this was like a couple of years ago, actually, but I had this clip of him. And he's like, the public is hungry for information. He's like, I give my audience homework and they'll come back with like all these fucking
we found
articles
this
and shit for me. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, dude, people, that's the reason like, again, going back to the like Americans are stupid, long form, like 3-hour podcasts, they go way into detail about certain issues is what's popular now. So that tells you something about the audience.
People information, and
people are
like
smart.
They want it, and and that's why Joe Rogan I think so popular now, and all the mainstream people hate him because he brings on people they don't agree with.
He's just
and he'll
curious.
listen to them, but he's curious, which is what destroyed the media. They stopped being curious. So he's doing their job and wondering why they're going out of business.
Well, when you watch like a scripted late night show like Stephen Colbert, like Jimmy Kimmel now, you're just like, dude, this is so fake. It's like because podcasting
it's the writers though. It's the writers they hire that they're all in that liberal column and they're all competing with each other to who can stab the other one in the back to get their piece on there.
They're all reading from the same script.
Yeah.
Like in those RFK and Tulsi hearings, all those fucking senators, they're like reading prepared statements, attacking.
Yeah.
It's like, what, dude? Like, you're clearly not saying this because you believe it. Like, you're reading it off of paper. Like a staffer prepared this for you. What the fuck?
Well, and it's just like, whenever the Democrats are in the office and they're trying to get their people confirmed, they're always blaming the Republicans. This has always been tradition just to approve their nominations, and these guys are just playing politics. But then when it's the other side, they're doing the same thing. And it's like,
yeah, of course.
This game is ridiculous.
I wish more people would grow the fuck up and stop like pretending that we still have to play these games because we don't. Like people can see through it.
Well, and if so, I guess on the other side of that too is like there have been horrible nominations.
Sure.
That need to have stuff. I mean, like Merrick Garland, I think he's been terrible, and it's a good thing he wasn't confirmed. Or wasn't they trying to confirm him to the Supreme Court or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Seeing what he's
but also
done,
Obama could have recess appointed him like a Republican would do, and like that would have been like that's why when the Democrats like whine about Roe v. Wade, I'm like, bro, you guys had plenty of opportunities if you really cared that much about Roe v. Wade to stop it from being repealed. So whatever, like you can fuck off.
Yeah. I don't know what the political games and what's in that inner circle that go on with those decisions, but it's like
to me,
I probably don't want to know.
Yeah, to me, it also seems like the Democrats, like their job is to play the like inept losers who just always like, whoops, we can't do it. Fuck, sorry.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, they both serve the same donors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and that's what's funny, and RFK is like pointing out to Bernie is like, look, you guys are getting money from these pharmaceutical companies. Why would you not want me to make America healthy by not being injected with all these chemicals and stuff? Like, you're the ones that took millions of dollars. I only took $27 donations from hardworking Americans, and it's like,
Mr. Kennedy.
That ain't what your campaign donation filings over here say. There's like a $1.2 million from the
dude. No one likes Bernie anymore. It's clear that he was a sheep herder for the Democrats.
Yeah,
Mr. Kennedy, do you support this onesie?
Yeah, he's burning his own bridge there.
It's already burned. Like, I mean, dude, the most like that's my fucking ilk. Those are my people, the Bernie people, like the Bernie bros. Like
I think they sold. I think they see how he sold himself out.
Oh yes,
like when he got
100%,
and
100%. Yeah, dude,
and
no
I
one
don't-
likes Bernie anymore.
I don't see how the Democrat Party keeps getting away with what they do. It's like, no, we have these rules. So even though the populace wants this person, we want this person.
Dude,
so we
Bernie-
don't really give a shit what you think.
Bernie was filling stadiums with people,
Yeah.
excited voters.
And I
Did you
think
see-
at first he was legit.
He was.
And something happened,
Well,
and there's
no,
like, hey,
dude,
look, we'll
I'll tell
give
you
you this if you give us your voters.
I'll tell you exactly what happened. Fucking during that second cycle, Obama, I don't know if you remember this, Obama like met with Sanders, and I'm sure he was like, look, we're going to go fucking nuclear unless you get the fuck out of here and let us
Yeah,
put Biden in.
probably.
Because dude, look at what they did to Trump. Imagine if they had done, because they ran a lot of the same playbook on Sanders that they ran on Trump. He's a Russian. Like once Sanders won in Nevada, they're like, Putin likes him. Putin likes Bernie. And Bernie had to go and goes, I don't like Putin. I thought Putin is bad. But, you know, and then they did all that shit to Trump even harder. So imagine if they did like the lawfare shit on that they did on Trump on Bernie. Like, there's no way he would have survived it. Like he'd be fucking in jail or like fucking dead by now.
You just
if he
take
had
the
to.
deal and it's like, oh, it is what it is.
So he's a
I'm
fucking hack.
surviving.
Right. He's like, oh, I will defend Joe Biden. Joe Biden is my good friend.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Trump too really cares about America. I know everybody says, oh, he's bringing in all these oligarchs and we're going to be an oligarch nation.
Yeah.
It's like we already are technically.
Yes.
By all the big power players in America that have all the money. But
Spare me. Democrats had J.B. Pritzker on stage at the fucking DNC bragging about how Trump's a dumb billionaire and he's a good billionaire. And they want to fucking talk about oligarchy. They can suck my dick.
Like I say, they out themselves.
So terrible.
Well, should we end it here before we go on for
man,
another
let's
hour?
get out of here. Hey, thanks for jumping on, man. Let's do it again soon.
All right, sounds good. Have a
Have a
good
good
one.
night, y'all. We'll see you next time.